Good morning, good people. Good morning, my dear minister, my darling minister.
How are you,
Are you well
leadership?
this morning?
I'm fine, Chief. How are you?
Very well, my leader. How are you doing?
I'm fine. You look like you're in Devon.
I must tell you, I got water back at home. I got peace
Wow.
at home.
No, that's great. The system will improve.
Good work. Are you well?
No, I'm doing well.
Well, let's put some parliament in the background there.
Yeah, because you are putting the old assembly, the real assembly there.
So I'll put some water in the background.
Okay.
Are you in Cape Town or in Pretoria?
No, this is Pretoria there.
Oh.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. Enjoy your breakfast, Chief.
Thank you.
Good morning. It's 10 o'clock. Good morning, Honourable Minister, to Deputy
Good
Minister.
morning. Good morning, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members.
Morning, Chair, morning, Minister, and DMs and members.
Good morning also to Honourable Members of the Portfolio Committee, the DG, and all personnel. Thank you for availing yourself for this meeting this morning. May I ask that we observe a moment of silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. Members, is there any apologies? Nosipo, any apologies?
Good morning, Chairperson. There is no apology.
Thank you very much. We will deal with the department. Will make a presentation on the fourth quarter expenditure and performance for the 24-25 financial year. Minister, I would request you to lead in with this. We will give 20 to 30 minutes to do your presentation, and then honourable members will ask questions, 3 questions per person, and if there's enough time, we'll go into a second round. Thank you very much, Minister, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Let me take this opportunity to greet all honourable members on this platform. Sanbona, Mama Makaula, Dumelang, Absheni, Kuyemore. Good morning, DMs, DG, the entire management of the department, the parliamentary staff of this department or this portfolio committee. Chair, allow me to greet you and appreciate the opportunity, especially in this month, a quite interesting month, when we commemorate the youth activities and what happened in 1976 under the theme, Skills for Changing World, Empowering Youth for Meaningful Economic Participation, of which we as the department some other time will come and make presentation to the portfolio committee. What is that we are doing at the youth front? How are we taking young people on board? Chair, as we have always said, that we maintained our previous submissions to the committee regarding our water resource strategy, as well as water security. Over 90% is already allocated on various sectors when we talk about the water surface, the surface water. So, be that as may, Chair, the department has always maintained that local deficiencies due to unreliability of water, as well as water provision by municipalities, remain our concern, as it is the concern of all South Africans and this portfolio committee in particular. The concern is clearly supported by blue, green, and no drop reports. It is against this reason, Chair and honourable members, that the latest National Water Resource Strategy 3 includes, among others, the use of groundwater, desalination, return flows, effluent reuse into the national water mix. Chair, you will remember that we reported to you that in March, we were ready, done and dusted in terms of the Lesotho Highlands Tunnel major maintenance. We did that job within the 6 months that we committed to do. However, there were some challenges on the side of Lesotho. That is May, last two weeks ago, on the 25th of May, as we're celebrating Africa Month, we were receiving our water. What you see on my background here is at the time, 4 o'clock in the morning at Ash River when the water was coming in. So I want to say to you, Chair and honorable members, that the tunnel is up and running. Honorable members, as part of extending the call of the 7th administration, that of putting water as the key priority, or priority number 1, most of you, Chair, whom you led the delegation, you participated in shaping the way forward during the water and sanitation in Daba. And for that, we are very much thankful, because that is what we are currently implementing, working with provincial governments as well as municipalities. Chair, just to highlight one or two important things on that, and those resolutions of water in Daba. The key areas were that we must encourage municipalities to look at the SPVs who are in the verge of implementing that now. But as we said, that the National Treasury is finalizing some logistics of that through the PFMA and MFA with with Fuleni, and it is taking a little bit longer than we expected. But that has made, there's nothing that we can do, because the concurrence must come from National Treasury. But I must say to you, Chair, there is a lot of appetite from various municipalities that they want to go through that route of SPV and other concessions that are in place. Chair, we also agreed on the BOTT, the build, operate, train and transfer. Because if we don't train, even if you can build and operate and transfer, but if you have not trained, you might not be able to get the expected results. Chair, through the Water Service Amendment Bill, the National Treasury, through the reform of Metropolitan Trading Service Program, which is phase 2 of Operation Vulindlela, there are 3 main issues that were involved in, that we have already started. One, separation of the Water Service Authority and Water Service Provision function, as is already required by the law, ring-fencing revenues from the sale of water for the water function, as well as ring-fencing all management functions related to the delivery of water, sanitation services with single point of accountability. Chair, you are aware of all our grants, but there are projects that are incomplete. Chair, once we have spent 100% of our budget, there are still projects that are incomplete. If you look at our presentation on slide 34, we're going to unpack what are the causal factors of those projects to be incomplete. Chair, because I want to give more time for you and members to be able to engage on this fourth quarter report, I must say, Chair, according to our submission, there's nothing that is untoward on this fourth quarter. We've tried our level best to ensure that we deliver on what is expected. Honorable members, having said all the above, the department has not stopped with support and intervention on various municipalities. As you maybe remember that there is a Tshwane for Hammanskraal that were already finalizing module 2, which will give extra 12.5 megaliters on the 17.5 that we've already headed over, as well as intervention in Mfuleni by Rand Water and Umkanyakute by Umgeni, while considering the fiscal constraints and sector challenges that are well documented. This presentation, Chair, will comprehensively indicate performance of various programs 1 to 3, citing successes as well as challenges. We're not going to shy away from the challenges, Chair, but I must appreciate all these members of this portfolio committee, Chair. The more you ask questions to the minister, written questions, one gets to understand some of the deep-rooted seated issues that one has to follow up. And your questions, as you ask them, they've assisted me to go to broaden the scope of my own oversight on the issues affecting the department. Chair and honorable members, I thank you. Through you, Chair, I will request that the DG take us through the presentation. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister. DG.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister. Good morning, honourable members and deputy ministers and colleagues. This is the cumulative fourth quarter report of the Department of Water and Sanitation. Honourable members will recall that we do all of these quarterly reports are cumulative. So the second and third quarter reports were also cumulative. So this report covers the whole financial year because it's cumulative, but it's not yet the final report, final presentation on the annual report, because that will be done later once we get the final audit results for the year in question. I'm going to provide some introductory slides just to add a bit more to the remarks made by the Minister. Then I'm going to hand over to Babawa Nyaka, who's our Chief Director for Planning in the DG's office, to give an overview of non-financial performance. And then I'm going to ask the CFO to give an overview of financial performance and the financial recovery plan. So in these introductory slides, we highlight key achievements of the department for the whole year, because it's a cumulative fourth quarter report. The Minister has covered the first point. We have been working, as honourable members know, on amendments to both the Water Services Act and the National Water Act. In the previous year, we went through a public consultation process. During the year under review, we've been through the cluster system on the amendments to both bills, and the two bills are now in the process of being put on the agenda of Cabinet. Hopefully they will be processed by Cabinet during June for Cabinet to approve that they be submitted to Parliament for consideration. The Water Services Amendment Bill has some very important reforms aimed at improving water services at municipal level, including separation of the Water Services Authority and water server provider functions, and providing more clarity on that separation, which is already in the Act, but has not been implemented widely across local government, and that's why it requires further clarification. It also provides for, enables a situation where reforms being driven by Treasury and the Presidency, such as ring-fencing revenues and the sale of water for the water function, and ring-fencing of all management functions related to the delivery of water and sanitation services with single-point accountability, can be implemented through this clarification of the separation of the WSA and WSC functions. We've also continued during this year under review to work closely with the Infrastructure Fund to get allocations from National Treasury's budget facility for infrastructure. Honourable members would have heard the President indicating in his State of the Nation address that the water sector is one of the biggest participants in the Infrastructure Fund, with the majority of blended finance projects being facilitated by the Infrastructure Fund being water sector projects. We also, during the year, established something called the Platform for Water Secure Gauteng, which is a collaboration with business leaders and civil society leaders. And we established a similar platform in eThekwini to enable government, business and civil society leaders to talk with one voice in both Gauteng and eThekwini about the causes of the water supply disruptions in those two areas and what is being done about them, and the roles that ordinary citizens can play in helping to reduce the risk of further water supply disruptions. We were also closely involved in the presidential intervention or working group in eThekwini, with the department co-chairing the water and sanitation work stream, and that has resulted in some improvement in the situation in eThekwini, as could be seen from the December period, when the amount of beach closures during the December holidays was much less in this financial year under review than in the previous financial year. Our Water Partnerships Office also continued to do its work and assist municipalities to get more private sector finance and management expertise involvement in water services. For example, it is working closely with eThekwini in facilitating a non-revenue water reduction project, which will be a public-private partnership, and the procurement process for that is almost complete and should be awarded soon. And that is also a blended finance project with a contribution by the BFI facilitated by us together with the Infrastructure Fund. A further focus during this financial year under review has been to address the situation of the risks to our water boards in terms of financial sustainabilities, which is posed by the debts owed by municipalities. In that regard, the Minister engaged premiers and MECs for COGTA municipalities extensively in the worst affected provinces, and also we worked with National Treasury to get approval for the debt write-off mechanism and the withholding of the equitable share. And these measures are starting to have an impact, although there will further implementation of the withholding equitable share will be required over the coming quarters to consolidate this impact. To cover some other issues which weren't covered by the Minister, we launched the Anti-Pollution Forum during the financial year under review and established a multi-stakeholder platform to coordinate actions against water pollution and promote accountability. We published the revised raw water pricing strategy and are preparing and consulting with all the water users for that to be implemented from next financial year. And we also continue to use our RBIG and WISIG grants for a range of projects around the country. Some where we've asked our water boards to assist the municipalities to address the issues, such as Magalies Water assisting the city of Tshwane to address the water issues in Hammanskraal, Rand Water assisting Mfuleni to address the sanitation issues, Vaal Central assisting Machapeng and Malutia Pafong, and Umgeni Utugela Water Board assisting Umkanyagudi municipality. In addition, we're particularly focusing with our grants on the 105 dismally performing water services authorities. Administratively, with regard to these grants, we've successfully implemented improved management processes so that for this financial year under review, we spent 100% of the grants as we did in the previous financial year, which is a major improvement in the context that in the years before that, we were underspending on the grants. With those introductory remarks, I'd now like to hand over to Babawa to present on non-financial performance.
Thank you, DG. Good morning to the honorable members, the minister, the DMs, and my colleagues in the platform. Just to indicate, this is the standard performance report that indicates a comparison between the performance and the financial aspects, just to indicate the areas of underperformance in the subsequent slides that I'm just going to highlight for the portfolio committee members. Also, this is also a graphical representation of what I have indicated. This slide, slide 11, indicates our progress towards achieving the preferential procurement regulations. You'll see that we achieved 25%. And in the subsequent slide, I'll be providing the information for the designated groups for these targets. You'll see that for the black-owned companies, our procurement at the end of the financial year was 3.7 billion from ownership of 50% and above, which is equivalent to 31% of our procurement budget. Women-owned companies, from a target of 40%, we obtained 17%, but that is equivalent to 2 billion. Youth ownership of 50% and above, it's 180 million, which is 7% of our procurement budget. And last but not least, 74 million from people with disability companies, which is 1% of our procurement budget. This graph indicates, as per our annual performance plan, those sub-programs, how they fared in terms of their plans for the year, and one obtained their achievement. Slide 15 also highlights the key highlights per sub-program, so that you can see the actual achievements and progress for the department. Just to focus on the areas of partial achievement in this area, our risk management plan, we have deferred a lot of these activities to the 25-26 financial year. We are on track to achieve this in the financial year. Vacancy rate and training interventions, those are areas that were not met. Unfortunately, they were affected mainly by our training interventions and pest containment measures, but also we had to review our organizational structure to increase our technical competencies, which is one area that we're still trying to fill. Safety assessments and also these resources, we had to reprioritize some of these activities for other activities, like risk and security threat assessments, and therefore we did not complete all the other assessments. In terms of qualifying small enterprises, I had highlighted these ones, and the CFO will be talking to the recovery, financial recovery progress to date. The one area that has increased this financial year, or by the end of the quarter, is our debtors days, and this is mainly attributed to our historical debt, which remains unpaid, and it really is giving us a significant challenge in terms of achieving our performance, or at least our targets as planned. Second program, water resources management, 2 programs obtained 100% of what they had planned for the period, and the others had areas of partial and non-achievement. The key highlights are indicated in these slides, slide 20 and 21, but the areas of partial achievement relate to our information management sub-program. One of our authorization process, we still need to finalize it for one of our gauging weirs. And in terms of getting our infrastructure management projects under implementation ready, you'll see by the end of the period, we just had several delays relating to procurement, relating to obtaining site access for our activities, and also appointments. So this is mainly procurement activities and also site access. For the projects under construction, there's progress, but not as according to planned. So there were several delays that were explained that are highlighted there. On the Clan William Dam, our Mzimvubu and Zanil Dam, relating to the delivery of materials, procurement also of materials, and also commercial funding from the commercial sector for our Olifants River Water Resource O&M projects. In terms of our scheduled maintenance, it might come as a partial achievement, but based on the trend from the previous financial year, this is quite a significant improvement, because at least at 65% of the procurement, some challenges with some term contractors, but this is also one of those areas that we have improved significantly if you compare it with it from the previous financial year. Dam safety as well, we managed to complete one of the 2 planned dams just as a recovery from the previous financial year. We had challenges there in terms of our inclement weather conditions affecting our completion. Also, delivery of material affected our ability to achieve a 10-kilometer plan for the rehabilitation of conveyance systems. I think the DG spoke a lot about the act, the bills in his introductory remarks, so I would not want to repeat on that one. In terms of our regulatory aspects, resource-directed measures, just there's some challenges in obtaining some data in certain areas, but we're working towards getting the data from the areas this year going forward. Authorization, also there were just system-related challenges that affected our ability to complete the issues, the processing of the applications, but those have since been resolved. And also our oversight assessment, we had to deploy the newly established CMAs just to do compliance monitoring activities. So this function has been deferred to the 25-26 financial year. Also the green drop activity also deferred to the 25-26 financial year, and also the establishment of the regulator activity. Also, it is work in progress for the 25-26 financial year. The honorable members will know about the infrastructure agency bill, which was submitted a couple of days ago in Parliament. So that is one of those that we had planned to complete. And slide 30 is just an indication of the strategies to indicate our underperformance. Our water services branch, 2 of those sub-programs obtained 100% of what was planned. That's just the key highlights of it. This is the slide that the minister had requested that I unpack a bit. As you will know, honorable members, we implement multi-year projects and they are funded through the 2 main grants, which is the regional bulk and the water services infrastructure grant. There's progress in terms of construction, but you'll see there are areas, red and yellow areas that are affected by several challenges in terms of our plan, or at least where construction should have been. A case in point, in Limpopo, 4 of their projects particularly were affected by mechanical and technical delays or electrical delays, and also some of them were also affected by poor contractor performance. And there's a process to actually obtain a new contractor, which warrants some litigation process to be undertaken, and that delays the completion of the projects. That is also the case in the Northwest, where there were delays in actually obtaining the materials from the manufacturers, and also that delayed the completion of the project. For the water services infrastructure grants, I will just summarize and say as such, there are various challenges in the implementing agency space from the municipalities that relate to late appointment of contractors, therefore delaying, having knock-off effect in terms of starting and completing the projects. Some projects are affected by community unrest. Some community members are expecting work from the respective projects. Some are also affected by the SMMEs requiring a 30% set aside issues. So there's a lot of issues in that water services infrastructure grant space. And then the last one for the budget for facility infrastructure in the Western Cape was affected by a poor contractor performance. And there's a process to ensure that the respective contractor accelerates the work. The no drop is one of those that we have deferred to the 25-26 financial year, and also the 2 implementation readiness studies have been deferred to the new financial year. I am not going to repeat slide 36. I have explained the reasons there. One area I would want to indicate on slide 35 is on the bucket sanitation system. There are 7 projects, bulk sewer projects that are under construction. to connect the existing bucket sanitation systems into the wastewater treatment works. Those are in the Free State. There's one that is planned for construction in the Northern Cape in the 25-26 financial year, and that work is underway as we speak. And then this last one relates to the water services bill, and that also is what the DG talked to in terms of the legislative review. Thank you very much, DG and Minister.
France.
Thank you very much, and greetings to the Chairperson Portfolio Committee, Minister, DM, DG, and colleagues. Chairperson, I'm going to provide a summary of the financial performance for the Q4 of the department. The slide that is showing now is indicating what Minister and DG reflected on around progress that we have made. We managed to spend 99.9% of the department's budget, and that is also unpacked through the economic classifications, as indicated below the second bullet. Also, Chairperson, just to highlight that on the water trading entity, the preliminary spending is at 75%. And since this entity is reporting on accrual basis, there are some of the transactions that we will be reporting on. So the figure is also subject to change. Those includes the reports that we receive from the TCTA as well as the LHDA. On slide number 42, it is the department's budget, as I've indicated. There is an improvement over the years, but also in comparison to the 23-24, there is an increase. We closed the other year at 99.8. We are now at 99.9. And the funds that remain unspent relates to compensation of employees, where we were still in the process of obtaining approval for the filling of posts from the DPSA, and we have identified those critical posts that are supposed to be filled. We are currently in the process as a department of filling those posts. And then on slide number 43, this is the water trading entity. It is also reflecting an improvement year on year, but as indicated, the trading account is operating on a different accounting method, so we should be able to demonstrate improvement when we submit the final audited accounts of the water trading entity. The next slide, slide number 44. This slide summarizes all the infrastructure programs of the department, the grants that the Director General spoke to, as well as transfers that we make to the water boards, as well as the catchment management agencies and to the water trading entity. So it's just to highlight the fact that DG mentioned about the full spending of the grants. That is also repeated on slide number 45 with the analysis per province. These are the direct transfers that we have made to the various municipalities, and the department continues with oversight and monitoring of these transfers post 31st of March. And the next slide is the summary of the RBIC and WISIC. These are the 6B allocations where the department is paying the contractors or the implementing agents through verification, direct verification of work done. And it is also unpacked there per province for both grants. Those were also spent 100% as indicated by the Director General. The second part of the presentation is the financial recovery plan. We are providing an overview of what we are doing as a department to address the previous challenges that we had, but also to put in preventative measures and controls to avoid recurrence of those. Amongst others, we have implemented the infrastructure procurement strategy. That is the strategy that is helping us to ensure that we procure effectively and efficiently for our infrastructure projects. Another point that was raised earlier on the performance was around debt. I can also confirm that we are implementing the debt incentive scheme, and we have entered into various repayment agreements through the other interventions, including those of the minister with the MECs and also the premiers. And we are also having debt collectors who are assisting the department in collecting the debt. And we have also, as DG indicated, we have approved the debt relief program, which we were working with National Treasury as well as the other stakeholders. We are currently having engagements with various municipalities to deal with the historic debt, which we will be able to waive a certain portion once the municipalities commit to keeping their current accounts up to date. Then the next slide, Chairperson, without going into details, is a summary of the unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. We did also indicate previously that we are waiting for Parliament to approve the unauthorized expenditure, so it's still in the department's books. And then in terms of irregular expenditure, we are also putting measures to ensure that we deal with the historic cases, but also to prevent new cases from happening. Then the same applies to the fruitless and wasteful expenditure. I will demonstrate that through the trend analysis graphs. Let's go to the next slide, please. On this slide, we provide the project that is contributing to the irregular expenditure, as well as the amount and the status, which reflect on where the court proceedings are, including also labor relations processes. So that is covered on slide number 49, as well as slide number 50. Slide number 50 as well reflects those other projects that we are following up. Then we can move to the next slide. Okay, it's the last slide on the irregular expenditure. And as indicated, there are internal controls to ensure that we deal with preventative measures. Let's move to the next slide. This is a summary, Chairperson, of those remedial actions that we have put in place to avoid future reoccurrences of the challenges that we have experienced. They are all outlined. I won't go into detail. Then we can move to slide number 53. Irregular expenditure trend analysis. Over the years, we have managed to bring down the irregular expenditure. The current contracts that we are reflecting up until 2024-25, those are part of the historic contracts. We have already engaged National Treasury on the condonation and also termination of the contract. So in the new financial year, we are going to reflect that progress in terms of this specific contract. Similarly on slide number 54, we are reflecting the trend analysis on the fruitless and wasteful expenditure. There is an improvement over the years, and the current reported cases relates to irrecoverable or construction losses, which, as I've indicated, that the department is implementing various measures to ensure that the construction unit continues to operate efficiently. It includes also the infrastructure procurement strategy, also some of the efficiency strategies. And we are also going to reflect that in 21st quarter that we have made progress on those. Next slide, I think this should be the other slides, Chairperson, is a detailed breakdown per municipality, and we will be able to respond to those at the opportune time. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister, thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. DG, is there something else you would like to add before we go to the members to ask questions?
No, thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, as I've requested, let's go for 3 questions. Let's stick to questions only and not making a speech, please, so that we give everybody the opportunity to have a opportunity to ask questions. The first member's hand that is up is Honourable Reddy. Honourable Reddy, you're more than welcome to start, and then it will be Honourable Ditewe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. You know, an egg farmer, when it buys hens, it doesn't buy a hen on the way it looks. The presentation looks good. Rather, it buys a hen on the basis of the number of eggs it can lay. I have a few questions, Chairperson. The first deals with irregular expenditure. It's just unfortunate that the presenter just brushed through this, and I think it's important that we all take note of it. There is a project, the desalination project in Richards Bay, where about 310 million rands was spent on this. And if I saw the report there, it says that the matter is still under investigation. This was a few years ago. I would like for us to get more clarity on this project as well as the one in Guyana and the war on leaks, because this cannot go on indefinitely. We have to see what went wrong, because these are critical projects. And if we have not found a way to get these projects off the ground where the end users are benefiting, we need to find out what went wrong. You spent 23.8 billion rand, but only achieved 64% of your targets. Can you explain this disconnect? I would also like to know what consequence management has been applied for the 6.6 billion rands in irregular, fruitless, and unauthorized expenditure. I also would like to know, Chairperson, why has not a single bulk raw water project been completed despite being funded? And can you explain why there's been no progress in eradicating bucket toilets? Yet you say there's 100% spend in the budget, but despite clear targets and the available budgets, but we still have bucket toilets up to today. Chairperson, I have one more question. I think I'll just use this opportunity to raise that. Why is the vacancy rate for critical engineering and scientific posts sitting at 40%? What has the department done to fill these posts? And of course, issues about women and youth and disabled-owned companies have been sidelined in the procurement process, despite there being set targets. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Minister?
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and to Honourable Reddy for all those questions. On the questions about projects that are under investigation, I think, Chair, it was just a month ago when we appeared in front of this portfolio committee, where we explained where is the process of the investigation, those that are internal and those that are with the SIU and the law enforcement agency. So the projects that Honourable Reddy is referring to, they are not entirely in our hands. They are criminal cases that are under investigation. We did also raise the concern when we were presenting in the previous meeting in the portfolio committee that the criminal cases are taking rather long, and the concerns of Honourable Reddy are quite spot on. It really takes long. How we wish that such cases of corruption can be dealt with speedily so that we can be able to close them. The DG will and the team will respond on other matters. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jean.
Thank you, Chairperson. When we say in our presentation that investigations are ongoing, they're investigations by the SIU that are ongoing. So, for example, the SIU has only started their investigation into the war on leaks project recently. It's an ongoing investigation. We can't account for progress on and the speed of the SIU investigations. The committee will have to call the SIU to talk about their progress. What I can say is that we do give the SIU our full collaboration and support with regard to their investigations. They sometimes do disciplinary referrals to us, which we act upon, and all of those referrals have either been completed or in the process of disciplinary cases being done. Similarly, the SIU is still completing some of its investigations related to Guyani. With regard to, I'm going to ask some colleagues to add as well in a minute, Chairperson, if you'll allow. I'm going to ask Intabiseng and Michael to maybe add about the question around these ongoing investigations, and Intabiseng to talk about consequence management. But just in summary, with regard to consequence management, there isn't one single consequence management event related to the irregular expenditure. The irregular expenditure relates to many different cases, and I think we have previously presented to the Portfolio Committee on our progress with our disciplinary cases related to financial misconduct. All of those disciplinary cases have either been completed or are in process at various stages. And there are many cases where officials have been dismissed or given final written warnings or had salary deducted. Intabiseng might want to add to that, but it would take us a long time to go through the entire list of all the disciplinary cases related to that irregular expenditure. But we would be very willing to come again to the Portfolio Committee to present on consequence management related to irregular expenditure. What I can assure the committee is that there isn't a single case of disciplinary action which has been referred to us by the SIU or by our internal audit unit, which has not either been completed or is in process in terms of disciplinary action. There isn't a single case which is just sitting with nothing being done about it. With regard to the vacancy rates, Honourable Reddy, the vacancy rates that's reported in our report has to talk about vacancies in relation to the approved structure, which is what is captured on Persol. However, that structure was only approved about 18 months ago, and we're still in the process of matching and placing against that structure, which is a complex process, very sensitive process in terms of labour relations. And we can't change the structure to be only funded posts on Persol until that matching and placing process is finished. In terms of vacancies against funded posts, there's a very different picture. We have almost no money to fill additional posts. Our personnel budgets, fronts can clarify, but I think last financial year we spent more than 99% of our personnel budget, which means we have almost no money to fill any vacant posts. So the reason why there's a high vacancy rate against the approved organogram is because the organogram is only partly funded. It's the ideal organogram that we would like to have if we could have sufficient funds, but we don't have sufficient funds, and our personnel budget has not increased in real terms at all. That has decreased in real terms over the last few years as government has tried to reduce the total percentage of expenditure on personnel. It's not only us, all departments are in the same position. With the very little money that we have available for filling of posts, which really just comes from people retiring, which frees up some money, we have been prioritizing the filling of technical positions. So, for example, over the last 2 years, we filled about 100 technical positions relating to the process of water use licensing. Many of them positions such as technicians and scientists who need to do research on water use license applications. Unfortunately, we simply don't have the personnel budget to fill all those engineer posts that we would love to fill. Inter-departmental, would you like to add?
Thank you, DG. Good morning, Chair and members and Minister and DMs. I'll just add on the issue of the investigations. I think DG and Minister have responded. Just to indicate that we all know that the Guyani, there was some information that SIU needed to complete. But on the issue of the case, the court case is sitting on the 28th July until the 8th of August. That will be the sitting of the court case, which was postponed from January. And then on the issue of the desalination investigation, that one has been finalized and the consequence management process is in progress. DG has responded largely on the issue of the post, and therefore I will not add more on that one. Thank you very much, Chair.
Michael?
Thank you. Good morning, members. Good morning, Honorable Minister. With regards to investigations, yes, internal audit does investigate all cases referred to it, and in certain instances, these cases have criminal aspect to them. We then report them to law enforcement agencies such as your South African Police Services, and then on a quarterly basis, we do follow up with them to make sure that the cases are receiving the necessary attention, and similarly to make sure that they are not frustrated in getting access to departmental officials or even documents, to make sure that those cases are then brought to their logical conclusion. Also, the audit committee of the department keeps track on all the cases that we are investigating and also the related consequence management that must follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael. Chair, there was also a question on the Honourable already asked why no single bulk water projects have been completed. It's not correct that no single bulk water projects have been completed. We've completed about 12 or 15 major dams since 1994, including the De Bos Dam in the Western Cape, the Bosman-Kop Dam in Mpumalanga, the Setumu Dam in Northwest, the Katsi Dam in Lesotho, the Dvikopis Dam in Mpumalanga, the Pedusizi Dam in KwaZulu-Natal, the Maguga Dam in Swaziland, the Bivani Dam in KZN, the Serious Kukado Dam in West.
Sorry, Chairperson, there's no need for that. I'm referring to the current reporting
No, wait,
period.
Honourable Reddy, I'll give you
referring to the current reporting period.
Honourable Reddy, I will give you the opportunity. Allow the DG to complete. Thank you.
So, Chair, we have completed many dams. The question was about bulk water projects. Bulk water projects includes national water resource infrastructure and water services infrastructure projects. But getting to the addition which Honourable Reddy has just made, many of these projects are huge, and almost all of them are multi-year projects. Both the dam projects are multi-year projects. For example, the Lesotho Highlands project, phase 2, now which is happening, it's not possible anywhere in the world to build a dam of that size in a single financial year. It has to be a multi-year project, and many of our major water services projects are also multi-year projects. So, but because they're multi-year projects and they're all starting at different times, there are different projects which start in a particular financial year and other projects which also finish in a particular financial year. And we have had projects which were completed in the last financial year, both national water resource infrastructure projects and water services projects. And I'd like to ask Rizimati and Livawani to just name a couple of those kind of projects which were completed during the last financial year. Livawani?
No, thanks, DG Chairperson, Minister, DMs. We completed the Azamia Dam raising in the KZN in the current in the last financial year, which is critical for the securing water supply in the KZN North Coast. We are currently busy with a number of projects, as the DG has indicated. We will we will substantially complete the raising of Sanitation Dam in the current financial year. We are projecting it to be in the fourth quarter of this current financial year. We have had some heavy rains in the rainy season in this part of the country. So there has been some slight delays, but we are recovering very well. Yes, those are the ones that are we are progressing well with Glen William and others. I would like to bring it back to the DG. Mr. Martin.
Thanks, DG. Chair, I think I'll just refer Honorable Reddy to slide 34, where we have listed most of the completed project in numbers. You will see that under RBIC, we have completed 14 projects. And then under WSIG, there's 99 projects that have been completed. But to just give you some of the examples of what we have completed under these two grants, for instance, in the Eastern Cape, we have completed phase 2 of James Clean Hands in Makanda, the Lubisi bulk water supply in Krisahani. We have completed that project. And if I was just to pick one project, of course, also in the Free State, we have completed the Fikapalza water treatment plant, and we can mention, Chair, all the projects that are all over the country. But we wanted to emphasize the point that there are projects that we have completed, even in KZN, Mapumulo bulk water supply phase 3. So they are all over the country. So if that information is needed, project per project, that information can be provided, Chair. Thank you, DG.
DG?
Honorable Chair, there is one outstanding question on the eradication of the bucket system. Can Mr. Rismati and Dr. Ntili respond to that? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. On the bucket eradication, we are making progress, as we've indicated in the presentation. There are projects that we are undertaking now in the Free State, and the presentation covered highly. But what we are doing in the Free State is to bring in the bulk water infrastructure on the outfall sewers to connect to households in those communities. And in the BEP, we have got roughly around a project in Clocolan, in the Sesotho local municipality, in Senegal, in the Free State, part of which is to eradicate the old BEP bucket that were in the communities. And what we are doing there, Chair, is to upgrade the outfall sewers or the sewer transmission lines that should take the effluent from households to respective wastewater treatment works, which were not in place. We are also refurbishing some of the pump stations and upgrading them so that when the effluent gets collected from households, it gets treated. Projects are in various stages in the Free State, Chair. And I think Dr. Ntili can also add on the progress thereof. But that is basically what we are doing in the Free State. And much of the information in terms of each project, each phase, what percentage you are looking at and what expenditure, we can provide that information if needed. Thank you, Minister. Maybe Dr. Ntili can add the two issues on the matter.
Minister, there was a question. There's still a question of the 6.6 billion rand that's outstanding.
Chairperson, if I may, I did answer that. I indicated that there are many different disciplinary cases related to that 6.6 billion. We have previously made a presentation to the committee on the cases, but we can provide the detail. But there's a lot of different disciplinary cases related to that 6.6 billion, and some of them have resulted in dismissals or other sanctions against officials.
Thank you, DG. It's, my apology that I've missed that. Honourable Reddy, that is the answers to your questions. Any response?
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me firstly, I want to compliment you on the manner in which you manage and chair this portfolio committee. Now, I'm not pleased. I'm really not pleased. We are 30 years into democracy. And after 30 years, we're still talking about bucket system. Grew up through the bucket system. In fact, I started off with pit latrines and then the bucket system. And it is the most humiliating form of degradation that's possible. And we're still subjecting thousands of families in this country to the bucket system. And the response we get is that we're talking about some project in the Free State and some project here and there. Chairperson, I want to suggest that as a committee, let us target those areas where they still have the bucket system. Let's go there and do some oversight visits, meet the municipalities and find out exactly what is causing the bottleneck in clearing up, ensuring that we have a proper system in place after 30 years in these municipalities. Secondly, Chairperson, I would have, as the officials and as the DG, started off by apologizing, by saying, we are sorry. We are sorry that investigations are taking years to complete. The SIU is sitting with investigations. The justice system is failing us. It's out of our hands. That would have been a far better approach than to come here and think that we as members of the committee are accepting that for years gone by, we're still waiting for some action to be taken in respect of irregular expenditure, in respect of corruption within the department. Then I would have also apologized for the fact that apart from the investigations being slow, I would have apologized that as a department, there are construction projects which are being held up with challenges outside of the department's hands. This could well be, and we know about this, where contractors are being appointed and are holding projects to ransom. Let us know about these bottlenecks. Let us know about these real challenges on the ground. So once we know them, we can then deal with those issues, but not to come here and make all kinds of excuses about what are the problems, or not to identify the problems, but to make it seem like everything is well and good, because it can't be. It cannot be possible that we're spending so much of money so well in the department, yet we cannot show that we have completed projects in this term. And finally, Chairperson, the issue of the response by one of the officials on the Hazelmere Dam wall raising project. I'd like you to go and have a look at this. I know about this well because I was on the board of Ngeni Water. Go and check how many years it took for this project to get completed and find out why. If you really want to know what are the issues and why projects are not being completed on time within this department, take the Hazelmere Dam wall raising as a project, as an example, and you'll be able to find the answers. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Honourable Member, I just want to come back to say that on the 13th of May, we have discussed the issue of the SIU. You also asked questions concerning that. I think we are 100% on board what is happening within the department. They were to us what challenges were. They were also open with us, the SIU, with the challenges that they do have. So I think it is unfair for us now to come 2 weeks later and speak about the same thing when we only had this discussion on that. But I take your point on the bucket eradication. We certainly need to get a full report on that and also look at oversight in that area. And I totally agree with you on that. So let's leave that as that. And if there's anything we still need on the SIU, We have requested the SIU information. That is still outstanding. You have received a report last night about that. It will be followed up. Can I now ask Honorable Ditebe if you can ask your questions?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I will switch on my video briefly and switch it off again. I don't know if you can see me. Right. I think you can see me, Chairperson.
I can see you. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning to you, Chair, members of the Portfolio Committee, the Minister, DMs, DG, and team. And thank you very much once again for coming over to, present to us. Certainly, there are challenges, but there can be no denying the fact that a lot of ground has been covered and is being covered as we speak. And Chairperson, I do not make these remarks so as to suggest that ours is an obsequiously cordial relationship with the department. We know that we ask very many questions and oftentimes very tough questions, but I think we must give credit where credit is due so that we also recall which particular entities, organs of state, whose responsibility, among others, is to uncover graft, malfeasance, corruption, which particular organs are assist with that responsibility so that the department plays what role it must play with regards to disciplinary matters within the department and, of course, liaise with such bodies as the SIU, the Hawks, etc. So on that score, we must be very clear. As I said, Chairperson, this doesn't suggest that ours is an obsequiously cordial relationship with the department. We hold them accountable. Chairperson, having said that, on slide 7 of the presentation, the department says that the water boards are providing support, be it in Gauteng, the Free State, KwaZulu-Natal, to various municipalities. I can confirm that in a number of municipalities in the Free State that is happening. But Chair, earlier on, Dr. Mati asked whether Dr. Ndidi wanted to comment on the question that was posed earlier. And thanks that Dr. Ndidi is here because he's the provincial head of the department in the Free State. Now, there is this project, Chair, where the department, through the Water Board, Val Central, and with the PMO Project Management Office that was appointed there, was supposed to start and complete this project. It is the Allen Ridge Nyakalong bird pen, which must have that pen dewatered so that the pump station that is immersed in water can be accessed and the wastewater treatment plant can start working. Chairperson, this has been a huge menace to communities there, households being flooded by water from there. Last year, in fact, a body was recovered from that pen. So we haven't heard any progress with regards to that. The last time we checked, the executive mayor there had apparently made an undertaking that the municipality would contribute 50 million rand. It turned out that that money was not available. But if the department could please apprise us as to what is happening, because we receive complaints all the time. And Chairperson, people can be very patient as long as they have a sense that, you can keep your word, you're honest. I visited that place with Dr. Ndidi, the municipality, and some of the officials there. And people were expressing hope that at long last, this will be concluded. But nothing has happened so far. And we would like to know what are the impediments, because this has got to be done, and it's been years. Yes, there is a project to relocate some of the people there, but the bigger problem will not have been eradicated, because as and when people flush in that area, the whole effluent goes onto the streets. You should go there. It's miserable for people, Chairperson. That's the first one. The second one, Chairperson, I want to once again commend the department, be it in Tikologo, Setsoto, and other places in the Free State where the bucket eradication program is going on. But I haven't heard anything about Mangaung. Is it because it's a metro and therefore funds are being transferred to them directly, while these others are just small municipalities, and therefore the department is then engaged together with the water board to eradicate the bucket system there? Honorable Reddy referred to this problem, and indeed, again, the department cannot blame solely, because we know that there are forever mushrooming informal settlements, etc. As and when people settle there. We know the Fruit Bomb case. Yes, we've got the PI Act, etc. But for all intents and purposes, we often find that this is not enforced to the letter. So Mangaung has a backlog of about 79,000 either pit latrines or night soil buckets. What is happening with regards to that? The last one, Chairperson, is with regards to the anti-pollution forum. The Minister and the DG, of course, referred to that. We would like to know the details, Chair. As we speak, we know the extent to which the Vaal River is polluted, and just in my own municipality, for example, the Tigwe River is so hugely polluted that as you drive over the bridge, you can smell sewer right inside that river. And it is due to the municipality releasing that effluent into the river. So we would like to know that so that we can help in monitoring that, because this is certainly a constitutional right of people, a clean and safe environment. But thanks to the Minister again for reaffirming her commitment to ensuring that all municipalities that are deserving of assistance insofar as special purpose vehicles, such as what we have in Mfuleni, will indeed get that support. We will submit, some of us, names of those municipalities where we think that must be done, because then the value of assets there and the reliability of water and the compliance with the green drop assessment, etc., all of that will be fulfilled. Chairperson, thank you very much. And if you will permit me, please, if they could just comment on the National Water Amendment Bill. The last time, I think there was the issue with regards to the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor, the legal opinion there, and will they come back to present on the economic sector pricing that was strategy that was gazetted? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Minister?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Let me thank the Honorable Member, and thank you very much for your intervention on the earlier inputs by Honorable Reddy, that indeed we came, we made a presentation, and I even said, Chair, if I had my way, we're supposed to have special courts that are going to deal with all issues that are corruption related and be dealt with. So unfortunately, we don't have the control over that. The issue of a bucket eradication system, I think it is important that the department must give a background. At what point did we came in on this matter? Because we are not erecting any bucket system as the Department of Water and Sanitation. The projects that we're referring to were the projects when water was with human settlement. Then there was a resolution that were to deal with those. And I said in this portfolio committee, I said in Parliament that we're chasing a moving target that is not really out of our own making. When people invade the land, when there is mushrooming of informal settlement, they also put in bucket system as a matter of ensuring that people, but we don't deliberately, as the department, erect. We don't erect those. What we are busy with in terms of our project is not a bucket system. Where we are not doing bucket system. We have opened we've handed over a lot of toilets, which are VIP toilets in the areas where there is no water. Those ventilated toilets, but surely we are not putting up bucket system as the Department of Water and Sanitation. I think Honorable Reddy's point that as you go to see those areas, you'll then engage municipalities and conquer. The anti-pollution forums that we have already started launching through the mandate that has been given to Honorable Sitlulo. Honorable Sitlulo will come in and make a presentation on that, or to respond on that. On the water amendment bill, this is a technical amendment that we are bringing to Parliament. But dear Mashobo want to comment, as well as DM Sitlulo, through you, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Through your chair, thank you so much, Minister. I think on the question of the amendment, honorable members, you will be quite aware that we have concluded the technical amendment yourselves, and we want to, on behalf of the minister and the ministry as such, to convey our sincere gratitude. Because on behalf of the minister, I led the team last week, and through you, Chair, we concluded the technical amendment on the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency, which is a state-owned company. And our promise we made is that when minister has concluded the issues of the roadmap and the work streams have been hard at work now. Even the project manager has been appointed after we lost another one. And may his soul rest in peace, who has worked so hard over years in our department and in the sector. And at the right time, as we said, Minister assigned me to help her to oversee politically this thing of the agency. We'll bring that particular document. Minister Chair, on the other matters, the DG and then the other colleagues will respond around the issues of Free State. But Honorable Reddy, we don't mind criticism. We don't mind criticism, Chair, because we accept assets and liabilities when we took off. But at the very same time, the criticism must be fair. On issues of corruption and malfeasance, like yourself, you have said, Honorable Ditebe has said, this minister, you know that when we met with you in the water indaba, there are many issues of corruption, malfeasance within the water sector broadly. Minister made a decision out of her own volition to replicate what happened in the Department of Health on the health matters. We now have a water and sanitation anti-corruption forum working with the SIU and other law enforcement agencies, because you know that we have lost people in the sector. And to create an impression that we don't deal with corruption, we are dealing with corruption. Honorable Reddy, you will know, as a person who was also privileged to be in the water sector, Umgeni has a lot of allegations on corruption. You know them. Even certain people were killed and service providers at Umgeni. And many people tried to take over Umgeni as part of criminality. You know that SIU got involved, Chairperson. A number of these water boards, SIU has been involved. We actually processed a report that the board must deal with those who are actually corrupt them. because they have no space. The situation in Durban around water tankering and elsewhere, we are dealing with those particular issues. And Honorable person, we are very fortunate that you have been with us, leading us for quite some time. The department was bankrupt. You forced us to produce a turnaround plan, and we've been reporting to you on the remedial action plan. At a particular point, this department was bankrupt by those who were there before. We never said we will not deal with those issues. Irregular expenditure was the order of the day. And now this report says irregular expenditure has been reduced to something very, very minimal. And Minister is on record to say we don't want any irregular expenditure. It has been reduced. And many officials have been dealt with very, very decisively. Expenditure for the first time, Honorable Chair, you could see for the first time we are coming at 99.9%. When you look at program 2 and 3, like our team has made a presentation, for the first time we're at more than 66% on actual completed work, but at the very same time we're at more than 20% on the ongoing work, because infrastructure by its nature is normally multi-year. And Minister has prioritized since DG came through. We admit there were a lot of delayed projects, but we have brought all of them online. The project that we are dealing with of Clan Williams Dam is an example. Lesotho one, Umzimvubu, Umkomazi, Zanin, you can name all of them. They were delayed for many, many years, and we are prepared to continue to account. But on bucket eradication, the ones the ministry is dealing with, remember this thing, it comes more than 15 years ago, where unplanned settlements, they continue, where people, they actually build human settlements. There is no bulk infrastructure. And the problems that we're to deal with in Free State and the problems we're to deal with in the other province of Northern Cape, a lot of progress has been made. We report on this work, and on behalf of Minister, I monitor this work. We will welcome you. In a province like Free State, it has not been easy, where you have to build bulk infrastructure for reticulation for municipalities, including the wastewater treatment works. It's not an easy thing, Chair, to do, but we'll appreciate. But if municipalities, they continue to place people in unplanned settlements, they continue to give them the pot-potty like they do in other areas, those are the areas that we have made a clear call. That's why in terms of norms and standard, we want actually to ban issues of pit tractions, because they even have impact on issues of water. And there are many of these investigations, Chair, but let's find time to share with you. I will appreciate that where we made progress, let it be recognized. But where we're falling short, let's be made accountable. But let's not say not everything is working. The last point, the issues of powers and functions and the role of and responsibilities, let's not continue to conflate it. There are responsibilities placed on water services authorities. They will have to be held accountable. Then we do have an oversight role, not a role that we actually can bully them, and then from there say that we are replacing them. We support them, and after supporting them, we actually intervene. You know that Section 63 has a limitation. It requires that there's a prerequisite of a Section 139. That's why this amendment of what is now on your table on the Water Services Amendment, it will allow us to intervene more and more. But also interventions and support, they have a limitation in terms of resources. That's what I will actually do. The issues around Hazelmere and other issues, we'll find time, because we cannot be blamed for the projects that other people messed them up before. But we have done good. Remember, the people of Hazelmere, their dignity was stripped off, and Minister kept pushing us. For the first time, they were roofed. They've been recycled, but the work is not complete. We know there are communities around these dams not only in KwaZulu-Natal, but elsewhere, that we don't want our infrastructure to go within communities and to other areas without those communities benefiting. And it's our conviction that we shall leave no one behind when it comes to access to water, which is a right to life, and access to decent sanitation, which is a right to dignity. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Deputy Minister Sitolo.
Chairperson, thank you very much. Good morning to yourself and good morning to the honorable members. Good morning to the Minister and DM Mahlobo, DG and the team. Just latching on to the final remarks that were made by DM Mahlobo in and around the separation of functions between ourselves as the department and the water services authorities, which are constitutionally mandated to provide the service of water and sanitation to communities. Chairperson, Honorable Ditebe's point is one that is across the board, whether you are in the Northwest in the municipality of Matlosana, whether you are in the Free State in Machabeng, whether you are in Gauteng in the various municipalities there, the issue of water or raw sewage discharge into our water resources is at a crisis level. It is for this reason that the ministry has had to undertake these interventions, which have necessitated that we spend a whole lot of money having to refurbish, rebuild wastewater treatment infrastructure across many provinces such as the Northwest, Free State, Mpumalanga, and the like. Just yesterday, I was in Mafube local municipality in the Free State, where this department is investing 170 million rands in making sure that they're able to facilitate a wastewater infrastructure in that municipality. Chairperson, it is unfortunate that water service authorities have allowed the deterioration of the wastewater infrastructure to a point where Honorable Ditebe's comments are really a direct violation of people's human rights across many municipalities in the country. But again, it is this department that is at the forefront of making sure that they're able to intervene as best as possible. It was reported last week that the pollution of the Vaal River as it relates to dysfunctional waste infrastructure in Mfuleni local municipality is improving. And I believe that it is important to mention this point because it is through the intervention of the Department of Water and Sanitation that we are finding ourselves to report that pollution is improving because of the work that has been done by the National Department of Water and Sanitation. It is therefore unfortunate, Honorable Chairperson and members, that at this point in time, it is the Department of Water and Sanitation that has had to equally amend legislation in order to be able to intervene accordingly in water services authorities across the country. This is, of course, something that certainly is not ideal, but it is something that we need to do because at the end of the day, South Africans, do not talk about water services authorities. They talk about the National Department of Water and Sanitation that has to respond to the many issues that relate to this particular service of these water services authorities in the country. It is through the Ministry of Water and Sanitation under the guidance and leadership of Minister Mathodina, where we crisscross the country, working together with our water boards that many are appointed by the department as implementing agents to fix the infrastructure, unfortunately, has been left to collapse and decay by water services authorities. I want to make the point, Honorable Chairperson, that one of the biggest concerns that we have, and it's an issue that was raised by MISA yesterday, it is an issue that was raised by Rand Water as well, to say we spend all of these millions of rands, billions even, rebuilding, refurbishing, and so forth and so on. DM Mahlobo mentions the point that Section 63 has got limitations. But what then happens is once we have rebuilt infrastructure is that we need to give it back to water services authorities where we've intervened as the Department of Water and Sanitation. What becomes of the infrastructure in a year or 2 years down the line? You go back, there was no operation and maintenance. It means the infrastructure is back to square one. The issue of capacity building, yet again, has to intervene has to undertake these capacity building programs on behalf of water service authorities, then needs to be done. We cannot in any way, shape, or form continue to hand over back infrastructure to water services authorities that clearly have no proven track record of them. And I think that is something that we need to be strict on as a department, because this is hard-earned taxpayer money that we are throwing down the drain simply because authorities are not intending on making sure that they're able to appoint people who are fit for purpose, who are well-trained, who are able to operate and maintain multi-million rand infrastructure that has been handed over by this Department of Water and Sanitation. And I think that's an important point to make, so that when we do refer to issues of pollution of our water resources, Honorable Tebe, we do with the full acknowledgement of water services authorities across the country, necessitating amendments to national legislation, necessitating financial interventions by the National Department of Water and Sanitation. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. You're 100% correct. I can't see that if we spend millions to fix a plant and then hand it back to the same people that destroyed it. But that's my view. DG, would you like to add to these points made?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd like to respond to some of the specific questions raised by Honourable Ditebi, and then I'd like to ask some of my colleagues to add. With regard to Mangaung, we are not allowed to give the metropolitan municipalities any RBIG or WISIG money. They're supposed to use their human settlements grant to address water and sanitation infrastructure. Nevertheless, the Deputy Minister Mahlobo and I were involved in discussions with Mangaung, where there was a crisis over the December period when there were heavy rains in Mangaung, and because the metropolitan municipality hadn't been emptying the full ventilated improved pit latrines, many of the pit latrines over flooded, causing a serious sanitation problem in Mangaung, sewage pollution problem. As Honourable Ditebi pointed out, there were about 79,000 of these ventilated improved pit latrines, which the municipality had been failing to empty. When ventilated improved pit latrines are used in dense urban settlements, they need to be emptied. It can't be like in a rural area where you just go and dig another pit, because often there isn't space to go and dig another pit. So the pits have to be emptied, and they fill quite rapidly. The metropolitan municipality over the Christmas period was supported and encouraged to hire honeysuckers, the machines that are used to empty the pit latrines. I don't know what is the latest progress to date, but they did empty many of the pit latrines, which at least partially resolved the problem. But it's not something that we're allowed to use any of our grant money to assist the metropolitan municipalities to do. And they should, for an operational issue such as emptying of VIPs, the Mangaung municipality, as the Water Services Authority, should have used either its equitable share allocation or its revenue from the sale of water and sanitation charges to fund that. I'll ask Dr. Ntili perhaps to come in after me to give any update that might be available on the progress with emptying those 79,000 VIPs. With regard to Honourable Ditebi's question about the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor, Honourable Ditebi, that was about the Water Services Amendment Bill, not the National Water Amendment Bill, where the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor had initially questioned whether some of the clauses that we were putting in, for example, the introduction of an operating license for water service providers, whether it wasn't encroaching on the constitutional responsibility of municipalities, and whether it wasn't overreach by the national government. But we addressed that issue with the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor when we had workshops with them on the issue. They understood better and they agreed with us that the Constitution provides for both checks and balances. It allocates the function to municipalities, but it also requires the national government to support municipalities and to ensure that minimum norms and standards are met. So the Chief State Law Advisor did agree that what we put in the bill was constitutional, in that it was providing for a mechanism to ensure that national norms and standards are met. So we do now have a certificate of endorsement of the bill from the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor, and as I indicated earlier, the bill will shortly be going to Cabinet to request Cabinet's approval that it be submitted to Parliament. On the pricing strategy, Honourable Ditebi asked if we could make a presentation. Yes, we'd be very willing to do so. Make a presentation on both what the pricing strategy says and also our plans for implementing and rolling out the pricing strategy. And then there's a project that Honourable Ditebi asked about, his first question, which I'd like to ask Dr. Ntili to answer. Dr. Ntili?
Thank you very much, DG, Chairperson and Minister and Deputy Ministers, all protocol observed. I want to start first with the Mangaung. On the 29th of May, we had also a follow-up meetings with Mangaung Metro, and we have established that every week at 11 o'clock for about 2 hours, we need to make some discussions with them around progress of water and sanitation. One of the issues was the report that they have already started moving, but what is really disappointing was almost about 230 million rand of the USDG was also returned back, and they were also providing us with their particular challenges. Definitely, we have said they need to provide a very turnaround strategy in which we will really monitor it on a monthly basis with them. The second part, it was on the Allen Ridge, which is a problem around the fuel plant, which is really in Machabeng. Definitely, as a department, we managed to take the Harmony Gold mine to court. We have issued a notice and we have issued even a directives about the discharging on their side, and we managed also to, they really appealed also, but we didn't want to even to retreat even the particular directive. But what was really a big challenge again, it is also the responsibility of Machabeng to be able to do their operations and maintenance. The issues in Allen Ridge are not in a very good way. And we had several meetings, consultations, and definitely at the end of the day, we have seen that we need to come in and also to support. But also on the support, we have agreed with Machabeng, with Anglo in our mine, and also DWS and Val Central. We were supposed to, to finalize and implement this even by the end of last year, where Machabeng promised that there will be a certain amount, as Honorable Ditebi was just saying. But when we were really putting all our plannings, which has been completed now by Val Central, the money which was really supposed to be provided from the municipality, it was not available. And the department had to put about 12 million rand aside also to do the part with the Val Central to include this particular project on the ministerial. And one of the issues was just to make sure that a municipality has to do their particular honeysacking and cleaning the streets, and also we had to also to make a partial and the working of the wastewater treatment works, and also towards watering of the full pan. The plans are ready now. We have also issued another letter again to Harmony to be able to ask them for the particular contribution towards this, because they are also the culprits who have already dealt with this. and that is why we took them to court. But now the way things are really happening, even at Machabe, it also ended up now the department had to take over and to do that particular issue. We have a client that the issue of human settlement, of relocating people and others, they need to be taken by the human settlement and other different departments in that particular area. It shouldn't be the department. And then the department will try to work with Val Centra to implement what was really concluded, and we will really update and provide even Honorable Tebe around the progress in which we have already gone now with the consultations with the contribution from Harmony. Even though Harmony was just saying they might also want to take other areas, and I think this one, if at all we can cover it, they can take even other money to other areas in Machabi because everything has already collapsed. Now, looking at the issues of general bucket eradication, we were really concentrating on the pre-1994 backlog of the packets. But we know that what's happening in the Free State, the mushrooming of this human settlement, the councillors and the municipalities are keeping these buckets. In the morning, when there are some pressures from the newly erected, this new settlement, these buckets are being reissued. Definitely, we are really dealing with, there is demarcated areas which we're really dealing with, which are really on the formalized area, not informal areas. And now after the formal areas and the buckets are still there, and they're still being counted again, we are really chasing, as the minister was really referring it to, and the human settlement with their particular grant, they had to be able to deal with that particular issues and so on. In terms of fixed back, we're about 78%, Clocolan we're 82%, Senegal 83%, Arlington 84%, Petrostain 63%, and Reeds 90%, and Dillsville 93.5%. And we are really working closely with those particular municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Doctor, thank you very much for that. Is there anything you would like to add, DG?
Yes, please. Going back to Mangaung, as I indicated, we're not allowed to give money to metropolitan municipalities, but we also have a regulatory role. We do monitor the sanitation situation in Mangaung. We're very much aware that Mangaung's wastewater treatment systems are in a very poor state. All its wastewater treatment works are not in a good state. And we have taken regulatory action in terms of the National Water Act with regards to sewage pollution, which I'd just like to ask Xolani to summarize. Xolani?
Thank you, DG. As DG has indicated, we had taken a number of regulatory actions against wastewater treatment works belonging to Mangaung. Maybe if I can mention a few where we have issued first the notices where we give the municipality an opportunity to respond to the suspected transgression, and we give them an opportunity to respond in terms of administrative justice and provide corrective measures. But after all that we have done that, we have issued directives because maybe of the failure of them to respond adequately to the notices, as well where their action plans we have seen that they are unable to address the dysfunctionality. There is one where we've recently now issued we have taken criminal action against them together with a community member who we have opened the case. That's one in Vepna. We have submitted a case at the department, and we are now awaiting further direction from the NPA. But there are other ones where we have then issued them with directive, and we're awaiting them to provide feedback with corrective actions. Like one is Dervater, the other one is Bloom Industria, where there were spillages on the road, and we have issued a directive to the municipality. And the last one, Chair, is the Van Sterrenras, where also we are awaiting a response from Mangaung. Should there be no response on these directives, then we'll be forced to move into criminal action. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ditebe, very lengthy response to your questions.
Yeah, Chair, I was cringing, fearing that members will say I've exhausted all their questions, but I know they are very smart. They've got many more questions. But thanks to the Minister, the DMs and DG and team. Chair, just the last one. The first request is on this last response, the action that the department is taking against the municipality Mangaung, that is. But I think, Chairperson, in the same spirit that there is a platform created for a water secure eThekwini, a water secure Gauteng, and without really overburdening the department, let's try and be as innovative as possible. The department, I know, is already doing that. Certainly, it cannot do it alone. It needs COCTA, it needs human settlements, but also, most importantly, it needs the presidency. Because Mangaung, as you've heard, well over 70,000 pit latrines and buckets, etc. We cannot be going on with these honeysuckers, Chair, at this point in time, Chairperson. The last one, Chair, could we be provided with a timeline with regards to the invocation of expropriation measures, whether in terms of what the department is authorized to do legally, constitutionally, as far as the Theronia plant? And for those members that may not know where this is, the wastewater treatment plant there, the department has completed that very wonderful project. Of course, there are a few issues, the aerator not working, at some point, etc. There are interim measures that are being used, from what we've been told, oxidation ponds, I think, that's what we were told. But we need, in the long term, Chairperson, to have a 9-kilometer stretch of land, which happens to be owned by commercial farmers there. And there's been some misunderstanding or perhaps disagreement between those farmers and the department, because 7 kilometers of that, for servitude purposes, belongs to the municipality. So that one, there's no problem with it, but we cannot afford to have that being a stalemate forever. If we could be provided with that, and then also Dr. Ntidi's detailed report regarding Mangaung, Machabeng, and all the other municipalities that he has mentioned, will be happy with that, Chairperson. But thanks for all the efforts that the department is taking. We need to be involved and support that, because yes, you can go the route of criminal charges, etc. But the spirit of our constitution and the letter of our constitution demands that citizens play an active role. If you look at Chapter 7 of government or local government, you will find that. But lastly, to the minister, and I know I'm being unfair to the minister, it's important that SALGA should just stop obsessing about only one concept, the distinct nature of the spheres of government, in this context, local government, and ignore interdependent and interrelated, because there's a reason why the drafters of our constitution says the three spheres are distinct, interdependent, and interrelated. It cannot be that when we want to solve these problems, majority of which are within the jurisdictional areas of municipalities, then they would simply want to invoke their distinct status as municipalities. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kegakilwe, and then after you, it will be Honorable Kobe.
Hey, my camera now is giving me a problem. Thank you, Chair, and good morning, Minister, Deputy Ministers, DG, the officials from the department, as well as all the members on the platform. Let me first appreciate the presentations. They were well structured and well informative for me as a new person still learning. I'm gaining day by day. But from what I've observed, Chair, before I go straight to my questions, the department is really trying. Like they've indicated that their expenditure is at 99%, and they've also reduced their wasteful expenditure. But what I want to recommend to the department is, even if they are doing well, they are trying their utmost level, if they can improve on their non-financial performances, because the department is currently at 50%, but I hope, because from my observation, what I'm seeing in the media and from the reports, the minister is always on the road trying to address the challenges, trying to make it the point that there is an improvement and our people, they do get safe, clean water and good sanitation. Let me go now to the questions, Chair. The Department of Water and Sanitation has developed a ministerial support program that targets 105 water services authorities that are performing poorly. What is entailed in the program, and what short to long-term impact will it have in ensuring access to safe, clean drinking water and decent sanitation services for the affected communities? Chairperson, another area of underperformance that concerns me is the department's inability to meet its procurement budget for qualifying small businesses. Chair, my question is, does the department have a strategy to meet this target in the current financial year? Lastly, Chair, the report indicates that both provinces and municipalities, they've spent 100% of their grant allocation. Does the department have a mechanism in place to ensure that the grant spent corresponds with the objectives of the intended projects? That is all that I wanted to say, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Minister?
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much to Honorable Hagiwe on questions. Chair, in terms of trying to attend to backlogs on water supply, we have a 5-year plan where we intervene through our WISIC grant, through our RIBIC grant. In one of the meetings, when we were making presentation on the 105 municipalities that are not performing well, we said, out of 144 water service authorities, 105 is not performing well. Then that on its own, it tells that when we assist through these grants, then there will be a positive outcome of that. Hence, most of the projects are not complete. Hence, some of the grant funding has been returned to Treasury because of implementation by those municipalities. Be that as may, what we are trying to do now, Chair and honorable members, is we have already isolated those municipalities whom we know that they don't have capacity, they are culprits in terms of returning funds back to the National Treasury. And we said we are going to intervene on our own. We'll also take our in-house construction to ensure that we complete the projects that are incomplete. Yes, we might have spent 100% as previous members have said, but when you look at that vis-a-vis the backlog, ours is a drop in the ocean, but we'll do what we are supposed to do. Mama Kaula, ukuthi lokho sinakho sikusebenzise kodwa akukho kuningi ukuthi kungashesha wonke umuntu athola amanzi. mangaba besikwazi ukusebenzisana as izikhungu ezi-different zikahulumeni, we're going to see progress. But we are trying our bit, Chair, through the allocated budget by this committee and Parliament. We are going to continue to do that, Chair. Let me invite the DG just and the CFO to talk of the 50% of the financial performance. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, DG.
Thank you, Chair. We do, and we will continue to strive to improve our performance in terms of the non-financial performance indicators in the APP. But I'd like to just ask Babawa to correct our non-financial performance is not at 50%. It's higher than that. Babawa, can you clarify, please?
Thank you, DG. Our non-financial performance is at 64%.
And on average across all the indicators?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. And then I'd like to ask Visimati to talk about the 105 municipalities. Visimati.
Thanks, DG. I think in addition to what the minister indicated is that we, out of those 105 dismal performing WSAs, we have done a report which indicate that over the past 3 years or so, past 5 years, we have actually spent more than 10 billion in allocation. But what we have also find out is that for us to deal with the current backlog on those 105 WSAs vis-a-vis what we are currently being allocated from National Treasury on our grants share, we have roughly around 12.5 billion a year, which deals with both our WSIG and our RB funding. However, our assessment has indicated that we will need roughly around 400 billion to deal with the actual deficit of those municipalities where this service collapse, as the minister has emphasized. The other point that I want to touch on, which I need to respond to, is basically on the question of grant allocation vis-a-vis project progress and if we have clear control measures. Chair, we can confirm that there is a process that we follow. Both our grants, you will have heard Minister indicate that we do have WSIG and RBIG. There are 2 schedules on those. There's what we call Schedule 5B, which is a direct allocation to municipalities. There's also Schedule 6B, which is an indirect grant to municipalities. This is where we are intervening and supporting municipalities. We hold the grants back due to non-performance, and we ensure that in some instances we appoint implementing agents like water boards. You'll have had Honorable Ditewe indicate, for instance, in Machabeng. This is where we use our control measures. But to cover the whole process, Chair, when projects get identified by municipalities, our provincial heads, together with their technical teams in each province, they receive from municipalities technical reports which details what kind of project needs to happen, where it should happen, what is the cost, what is the impact. That report must align with our business planning processes as per the DORA framework. The provincial heads, together with their team, they assess these business plans and take it through the control processes into our head office, where we have the chief directorate that deals with the management of the overall national 12.5 billion or so allocation of our grants. That business plans will end up being signed in the level of the DDG, and in this case, it will be myself who signs off there. We therefore align that process with the financial allocation. As you know, Chair, that these grants, they get published by the Minister of Finance in the DORA framework, so they become public information. We therefore align with the CFO to ensure that that allocation gets distributed according to the aligned business plans. We do have those monthly meetings. Our provincial heads have those monthly meetings to measure progress on the grounds. Over and above that, through our intervention unit in the department in head office, we also have project managers with the specialist engineer who are also supporting municipalities, trying to supporting our regions to ensure that there is thorough compliance. That is why most of the audit that we go through internally, we also assess that we comply. So in a nutshell, we do have all those control processes from inception to close out when the project is completed, and we comply with all the financial regulations in terms of the DORA framework. Also, Chair, lastly, National Treasury do have the provincial treasury, which works with our provincial leads to ensure that these provincial allocations for both WSIG and RBIC are complied with, so that what is spent on the ground matches basically the project that we're reporting on. Thank you, DG.
Thank you, Rizimaji. Just in addition, our regional officers do have officials which regularly visit the sites too during implementation to check that what the municipalities are reporting to us is correct and that the actual progress on the ground corresponds with the reported progress. And finally, Chair, I'd like to ask Frans to come in just to talk about our strategy for meeting the affirmative procurement or preferential procurement targets. Frans?
Thank you, DG. Chairperson, we have, amongst others, also decentralized some of our procurements so that they are done also at local levels. We also have in the department a team that is responsible for transformation, and they've been having a number of sessions in the various provinces to assist our offices in ensuring that the specifications that are issued to the bidders are also aligned with the transformation targets of the department. Yeah, I think, DG, there is the summary.
Thank you, Frans. In addition, Chair, we do also implement the requirements of the Preferential Procurement Policy Framework Act to the letter, and we do apply the requirements in terms of the preferential points, which vary according to the size of the bid on all of our projects. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable Member, are you satisfied with the response?
Thanks very much, Chair. I'm satisfied with all the responses.
Thank you very much. Honourable Kobe?
Thank you very much, Chair. My greetings. Good afternoon to the rest of the committee, to the Minister, to the Deputy Ministers that are present, to the DG and his team. Firstly, I'd like to welcome the presentation that was presented. My issue, Chair, and I think I'd like to just dovetail with what the previous honourable member has spoken about. When I look at I think it's the WESIC programs in Limpopo and the Northwest, where there are incomplete programs. So in Limpopo, it's 1 of 6 that are completed, and in the Northwest, it's a really poor number. And the Northwest looks like it's much worse than Limpopo. Now, I understand that the department has made their allocations completely 100% to these municipalities, but I'm worried that do we not have a mechanism from the department that says that what we are giving you is conditional on the condition that the contractor has completed a certain amount of work, and then only then can we release a certain amount of money. I don't know if that falls within the financial regulations between the department and the implementing bodies. But for me, I think we need to have a mechanism between the department and the implementing bodies with the contractors, so that the issue of poor contracting is remedied. I don't know if the department has that kind of mechanism, but my question is of those 2 provinces, how are we going to deal with the issue of poor contractors who are underperforming, but still we are releasing the funds to them? Another issue is on, I think, program 2, page 27, Chair, with regards to water licenses. Chair, over the past few weeks, we've spoken to a group of farmers in the Limpopo province, particularly in the Waterberg district, who have talked about the issue of water licensing, and that it takes the department a year to respond, not not even to give an initial response on water licensing. And what that has done to them is that it has affected their ability to run operations. But over and above that, it affects their ability to receive grants and funding from the Department of Agriculture and Land Bank, because water licensing is a requirement. Now, I see on page 27 where there's a percentage of applications for water use authorization finalized within the regulated period. The department is underperforming by 12%. It has partially performed in this regard. The department previously has made significant strides, and it had removed a backlog of thousands of water licensing. What's the issue now? Why is it so difficult for small scale farmers to receive licenses? And how many do they have in their system now that they know that are within the backlog? And also, what interventions is the department doing to address this issue and to streamline application processing, especially for small scale farmers in the rural area? Also, Chair, I want to commend the department. There is another program, I think, where they're speaking about the opportunities that are created. I think they're envisaging that 1,000 jobs would be created, but only 966 has been achieved. I think that they have put that as partially achieved. I think the department has done exceptionally well, given that we don't have a lot of growing jobs and our economy has been stagnant. So kudos to the department for that. And if we could have a report of the breakdown of the job opportunities in which provinces and the demographics thereof, I think that would be helpful in terms of seeing how the department has shifted the needle and in terms of transformation. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Kobe. The question, what are the mechanisms that we're putting in place in terms of the remedy for underutilization of the grant given to municipalities? The CFO will come to that, but I must also make a clear message that when we give municipality a grant, when we transfer a grant to a municipality, it is the responsibility of municipality to ensure that they appoint credible contractors. But as you have said, Honorable Kobe, it is very true that most of the contractors are unable to finish the contracted work on time. Others, they become they become bankrupt whilst on the project, and they leave the sites. However, municipalities take time to replace or to monitor those contractors. Unfortunately, we are unable to end the contract which municipality and contractor A, B, and C have entered to. However, we are now communicating with municipalities that at a particular point, they must be able to discontinue the contract if there is no progress. I think what Honorable Kobe is saying is that let's tighten up those mechanisms. In terms of the water licenses, in the past, we used to take 3 years to issue the license. With the reforms, we agreed on 90 days. In the past 2 weeks, I was intervening on the correspondence that was sent to my office by various applicants. When you ask, when did you apply? Can you send a proof of the documents that you have sent as a requirement? Then they will send half of the documents. When I make follow-up with the department will then send me something to say, but these are the outstanding information that we're awaiting from the applicants, and we have communicated with them. When I go back to those applicants, the applicants will say, no, we are still awaiting our documents from the consultants. So when you apply for the first time, you submit your documents. It's not automatic that therefore those documents will be processed, especially if they are incomplete. If they submit complete documents, it is easier to fast track and to be within 3 months. But if there is still outstanding information that has been requested from the applicant, they start counting on the day they made submission. But when they are told that you have incomplete documents, they don't start counting there to say now we must provide additional information. When they report to outside stakeholders, they will say that I applied in November, but that they were responded to say your documents are incomplete. They don't count that. However, if there is any information, Honorable Kobe, that you have with regard to those applicants who said they are still awaiting, please submit to the department so that you can assist them to check what are the bottlenecks with regard to such applicants, because we do want to ensure that within 90 days, when people have submitted proper information, we issue licenses. We are going to supply or to submit a breakdown of the job opportunities in terms of race, gender, as well as demographics. We're going to do that. Thank you very much, Chair. The CFO and DG will respond in some issues.
Thank you, Minister. I'd like to ask Rizimati to add to what you said about the incomplete projects in municipalities. Rizimati.
Thanks, DG. In the opening remarks, I think Minister touched a little on some of the reasons that result in a project being delayed or not getting complete. And also in our presentation, we did indicate, DG cited that we deal with multi-year projects, which can run over a couple of years before they get completed. Some of the challenges, as Minister has indicated, it's slow procurement processes by municipalities that we face. And by the time the money is allocated, you find that municipalities take time to finalize procurement. Some of the challenges are when the project is running and you've got filtration by the so-called business forums to demand work, it results in project stoppages, and we therefore lose time, which have a direct impact on the completion of the project. But what we do Honorable Kobe, is that specifically in those two provinces that you mentioned, like in Mpumalanga and also, in Northwest and also in Limpopo, those project, the challenges were basically what I've just highlighted now. There are, of course, mechanisms that the provincial heads have undertaken to support those municipalities, part of which is to look at alternative implementation models where there are poor performances, where we produce or we introduce the implementing agent to take over some of those projects. One of the things that we also do, which makes us to achieve the 100%, is because we don't give the whole funding all at once, Chair. We transfer the money in tranches, and we normally do it in July. The second one is in October, and the last one is in March. There are conditions that get attached to that. For instance, when the first tranche is transferred to the municipality, we expect 25% of that funding to be spent before we can basically allocate the next tranche for them. If they don't spend to the allowable tranches, we do interventions. That's where the provincial heads, together with the team, will have to intervene to support municipalities. But over and above that, you will have heard us in the past indicating that where there's non-expenditure and poor performance in the budget allocation versus the project, we ensure that such savings are moved to a moving project where we reallocated the funding. And you will have seen in our presentation that there is an increase in some of the ministerial intervention, and we use the very same savings on projects that are not moving to restructure those funding to ensure that we spend the money. Over and above that, Chair, there are limitations, as the Minister has indicated, on how far we can intervene, either by termination or taking over the project, because such contract exists between the municipality together with the service providers, and we have to comply with the proper general conditions of contract so that we are not found wanting or there are no litigations around those. Those are some of the mechanisms that we are using. Hence, you see there's 100% expenditure. But then when you look at some provinces, it seems as if the projects are not necessarily complete. It's because these are multi-year projects and we do move funds around and support those municipalities throughout provincial lead. Thank you, DG.
Thank you, Rizimata. And then, Chairperson, I'd like to ask Advocate Skosana, as our Chief Director responsible for water use licensing, to respond, to add to more what the Minister said with regard to water use licensing. Sipho?
Thank you, DG. Honorable Chair, with regard to water use licensing, what we want to indicate is that our performance is actually improving. Currently, as of the 26th of May, we are sitting at 72% of performance, which is actually 320 licenses that were finalized out of 444. And maybe just to zoom specifically to the question that was raised by Honorable Kobe, to say possibly there is an underperformance and therefore the resulted complaints from Limpopo. Limpopo is performing at 76%, and they are finalizing most of their applications within the required timeframes. They've got only 6 backlogs, which are backlogs which have been incurred within the quarter. We do not have the record of the very old backlogs, and particularly from the HDIs, because as Honorable Kobe has indicated, to say the complaints are coming from the HDIs and who are the small-scale users. Now, when you receive a license from the small-scale users, normally it's a simple and irrigation license in the case of irrigation, which does not require a lot of technical inputs. So it's finalized in the quickest way possible. But we would like to invite those specific concerns that we get them, then we deal with them expeditiously, because we've got a real-time monitoring of our license process in the form of EULAs, who are able at any given time to pinpoint as to when was a particular license application was received and where is the bottleneck, and were able to attend to it expeditiously. Thanks, DG.
Thanks, Sipho. Just to add a few points, Chairperson, what Sipho means when he says the achievement is at 72%, he means that 72% of the license applications in that previous quarter were processed within the target time frame of 90 days. And the approach that we take for those applications which aren't completed within the 90 days then fall into the backlog category, and we prioritize trying to make sure that any ones that aren't completed within 90 days are then completed as quickly as possible, so that we never revert back to the situation where we had license applications that have been sitting in the system for a year or longer and not being dealt with. In addition, we are always open to, my door is always open, and the other officials in the department, to requests and appeals with regard to water use license applications which appear to be long delayed. We always look into such matters when they're referred to us. But as indicated by the Minister, when we look into the matters, we often find that there's a reason why some of these long delayed cases have had long delays. For example, that additional information that was requested hasn't been provided, or in some cases where there's a dispute with regard to a decline of a water use license, which has then been referred to the tribunal, which in terms of the National Water Act has to then consider such disputes. We have, over the last 3 years or so, or 4 years, we've been implementing a range of measures to improve our water use licensing. We've upgraded the eWoolas system, which is the digital system which applicants use to do their applications, and improved it. We did have a bit of a problem over the last year with CETA taking over the management of the system, and we had some performance problems with regard to CETA, but those seem to have been largely resolved now. I've engaged with the CEO of CETA, and recently the management of the system has improved. But the system has also improved because of the developments we've made to the eWoolas system. Then also, as I mentioned earlier, we've also, with our very limited amount of money available for hiring staff, we've prioritized hiring of additional staff for this function of processing water use licenses. And we've now completed, we advertised 100 positions across our regional offices for technical positions. Because in terms of the National Water Act, when we get these water use license applications, we have to look at them thoroughly from a technical point of view to make sure that the water use is not going to cause damage to the water resources or to the environment, and that it's going to be sustainable. So we need that kind of technical analysis to be done by scientists and technicians and hydrologists in our regional offices, and we've hired 100 staff to improve their capacity to do that. In the recent months, those new staff have been being trained, and I expect that the ongoing improvement that SIPO talked to will also continue now that these trained staff, these newly hired trained staff, start adding their weight to their process. Then in addition, we've introduced some management improvements at head office. SIPO and his team at head office are now particularly prioritizing those provinces where the performance is not as good as other provinces, and actively intervening to assist the regional offices to make sure that the applications in those provinces which are struggling are done as far as possible within 90 days. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable Kobe, are you satisfied?
Chair, thoroughly satisfied, and I appreciate the department for opening their doors. Yes, I will be making further contact with regards to who exactly the water licenses belong to, for those who are still waiting for approval. But thank you so much, Chair. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Honourable Member, I can also testify on that. I wrote the DG2 complaints letters, and I got a thorough report on that. So just write them and request their assistance. Honourable Makaula, you are the next. 3 questions, please, and try and make it short if possible. I've got 2 other members that's hands are also up. Thank you, Honourable Member. You can continue.
Okay, ngibonge Chair, but mina sengiyasheshiswa manje. No, Chair.
Mama Kaula, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm not
Well,
fine.
let's move to questions. We can chat afterwards with each other.
No. Ngibonge i-presentation but ngizoba nemibuzo nami emithathu la. Engifaka lapha ku-DG. U-DG ngiyamuzwa uyabala indawo ayibala ukuthi sezikwazi uyabonana indaba zamanzi, uyabala koThekwini njalo njalo. Umbuzo wami ukuthi uyaya kuzona noma uyatshelwa ukuthi endaweni ethize sesilungisile awusomabhizinisi sebeyakwazi ukuthi abasebenze kahle ngamabhizinisi abo kulento yamanzi nakanjani nama-toilet. Ngisho ukuthi mina ngoba mayibala nje especially koThekwini, eThekwini kusenayo inkinga kosomabhizinisi. Ngabala iNanda, ngibale ko-Phoenix la uthola khona ukuthi ayikwazi ukusebenza iy'tolo noma izakhiwo zakhona ngenxa yokuthi amanzi awekho nasema-toilet abanenkinga. Ngibuye ngize la ku-Minister. Minister, ngoba uyayibona indaba yokuthi labo so-contract banenkinga yokuthi benze ukuthi umsebenzi ungasebenzeki ngalendlela thina esifisa ngayo njalo kwawena uqobo. Yini ongayenza noma awukaze nina nihlale phansi nibuyele kwi-drawing board niyolungisa lento yokuthi oso-contract ke bebuyele eceleni ngoba lezi inkinga ezingaka esikhala ngazo ezinye zazo lezi othola ukuthi imali ziyakhishwa ziyaya like njengomunye uDG Njadi esho manje lana ethi uyile eFree State kwashiya imali 100 bani million kodwa egcineni uthothi lo mali mawubuyela umsebenzi awenziwanga. Anikaze yini nicabanga ukuthi ke nilungise noma nenze amendment yokuthi oso contractor ke bebuyele eceleni ugovernment azenzele yena kube uyena ozoqasha abantu abazosebenza nje njenga before not lento yokuqasha abantu abangafuni ukwenza umsebenzi abantu bona abazodla imali kungenzeki. Ngiye kule ye bucket system sizongeke siyijombe le manje sina 30 years sikhuluma into eyi-1 ye bucket system. Mina ngena la kwi-portfolio committee kwakhuluma ezifu koshaya leminyaka i-bucket system ingasasebenzi siphelile. Ifana exactly nalento yokuvuza kwamapayipi kwakuze kuthiwa kukhona umshini othengiwe noma into ethengiwe ezokwazi ukuthi indaweni ethize kunepayipi elivuzayo. Kodwa kuze kube manje kusakhalwa ngento eyi-1. Umbuzo wami uthi so lo sagidagida endaweni eyi-1 koze kube nini abantu behlupheka na? Ngoba ekugcineni akufeyili laba bantu laba baphansi komasipala. Ithina esibukeka siyifeyila as member of parliament and nawe minister lento kuyafanele siyilungise. Bese ngibuyela kule yama yokugcwaliswa kwama-vacancy noma yokuqashwa kwabantu ey'khaleni ey'khona. Ayikho enye indlela ukuthi kuqedwe lama-contract, kuqedwe laba bantu abakhona lezi zinto zomathenda ukuze kukwazi ukuqashwa abantu abazosebenza permanent ngoba iy'mali ayithi zikhona azikho. Imali ikhona kodwa zikulabantu abagangayo. Mina ngokwami bengithi funeka kubuyele back nina lapha kwi-drawing board niyoyilungisa lento ngoba otherwise siyokhuluma lento koze kushona ilanga abantu babe nenkinga yamanzi. Ngiyabonga. Hezemia Dam, ngiyabonga minister. Uyasho noma kuyavela ukuthi bakhona abantu abasebe under roof. Kodwa nalapha funa ubheke ukuthi abantu bangempela labaya noma bangene bonke na. Ngishiswa nanobugebengu obukhona esibhekene nabo uthola ukuthi umuntu wayengahlali kuleyo ndawo kodwa egcineni ugcina sekuyena phambili. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you, Minister. Before that, is there a translator on the platform?
When you understand Zulu?
No, I understand. I don't. So is there a translator on the platform, Nosipo?
Yes, Chair, there is an interpreter on the platform, but I joined in the middle of Member Kaula's statement, Chair. My apologies. But what she indicated was that there's a need to employ permanent staff because there is no money because money right now is in the hands of the wrong people who are not doing the right things. So she suggests that the portfolio should go back to the drawing board and analyze exactly if the relevant people are being employed to do the work. When it comes to the dam in Hezimie, I think she said she wishes to thank the minister for the work that has been done, but she suggests that there should be a check whether the correct occupants are in the right places because a lot of people have now managed to take over some places where they shouldn't be, but she's very grateful for the effort made. Thank you.
Ekhulume nayo amabhizinisi phela.
Ngiyaxolisa ma ngifike
amabhizinisi.
Ngifike usuphakathi nenkulumo mangixolisa kakhulu.
Leya amabhizinisi kuthi isekhona inkinga kubona. Amabhizinisi akahambi.
Sizophendula Mama Makhaula.
Hayi khulumani bo.
Remember.
Okay, let me translate, Chairperson, quickly. Mama Kaula, the honorable member, was just asking DG directly that whether the things he's reporting on here are the issues that have been reported to him, whether he does make time to visit a number of areas, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, an area like Inanda, Phoenix, that has an impact of a shortage of water that affects business, affect public facilities like toilets. Those were some of the issues that Mama Kaula raised at the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Angibonge wema Mama Makaula lungu elibekelekileyo. Mama Kaula uDG umethi kunama project esesiwaqedile esiwenzile. Angithi thina senza lokho okuthiwa yi-bulk. I-bulk supply yilamanzi la asuke emlanjeni asuke edamini siwanikeza umasipala. Mase kuya ekuthini amanzi abe khona esitolo, amanzi abe khona ezindlini. Sokusebenza umkhandlu, akusasebenzi thina makufikela lapho. Mangaba umuntu onebhizinisi lakhe lapha eNanda, lapha konke nje eNtuzuma, mayengasathola amanzi, okokuqala la kufanele ukuthi aye khona ukubheka kumasipala ukuthi kwenze njani. Yikho ngihlala ngithi la Mama Khawula, ngaso sonke isikhathi uma uhamba emgaqweni uhlangana namanzi, and lamanzi ohlangana nawo emgaqweni amanzi ahlanzekile. Ahlanzekile ngoba abuya kwi-bulk water supply enikezwa mangaba sikhuluma nge-KZN enikezwa umngeni. Umngeni wahlanzile lamanzi wase wathumela ukuthi umasipala akathatha amanzi. Kuthi la kusuka khona kumasipala kuya la abantu behlala khona kula inkinga ikhona, kula ku-operator khona umkhandlu, kula ku-operator khona abomasipala. Uma sithi siwaqedile ama-project ngempela la sithi khuluma ngakuthi aphelile, kodwa umbuzo wakho muhle ngoba uthi mani waqedile abozakwenu bengaxhuma amanzi kubonakala ngathi nina nifeyilile kanti nibanikezile amanzi. Nisebenzisana njani nabo ukuvala lokuthi amanzi angahambi emgwaqweni, akuhambe abantu emgwaqweni, kungahamba abantu basitrole namanzi babambane ngezandla namanzi. Akumelekanga ukuthi kuyenzeka lokho. Mabe silapha kwindaba sivumelene nakubo bonke yonke imikhandlu ukuthi kule nyanga eziwu6 uqala ngo-April makuphela inyanga eziyi6 funa basitshela ukuthi sebehambe ibanga elingakanani lokuthi bavale lamanzi angavuzi, ngoba okona kwenza ukuthi abantu abaningi bangathola amanzi ayavuza. Ama-reservoir awanele ngoba i-population iyakhula, abantu baningi. Abantu baningi kufuneka ungongeze amatanki wamanzi lokho kubiza ama-reservoir. Okulandelayo ma kule ndaba yase-Helzemere. I-Helzemere mangiqala lapha ukungenelela ngo-October, imizi bewu-19 ama-families abebekwele osoloke ehleli kuma-park home for 6 years. Ngathi kubona uJune ka-2025 sozaze afike bangangenanga ezindlini. Ngiselelwe izindlu eziwu3 kuphela ukuthi ngizinikezele. izindlu eziwu-16 ama-families awu-16 angenile averifayiwe ngama-ID wabo, banekomiti ebeloko libhekane nakho konke elenziwa yibo abantu ebebe-affectwe yindaba yase-Hazelmere. Kunomkhandlu, ama-officials omkhandlu, ukhansela wendawo uhamba nabo bathike ukuthi la kulo mndeni bawu-10 bangenile bonke, yibo bonke nawo nama-ID wabo, nangu-owner walendlu. Then kukhona inkosi yamaqadi nayo ngaso sonke isikhathi siya lapha, sihamba nenkosi yamaqadi, sihamba nenduna yamaqadi, sifike lapha sithi namhlanje sizonikeza umama uMakhawula indlu, unama siblings awu-9 bazohlala la, kodwa indlu ekama. Abe inkosi yamaqadi bese ithi banika i-right yoku-occupya umhlaba. So esesilindele ukuthi kwenzeke manje ukuthi babanikeze lawo ma-certificate bonke. Le mizi yemithathu yokugcina sizoyinikeza izindlu before kuphela uJuni. I-deadline yethu bekuwuJuni. Siye salitshaziswa izulu belina kakhulu, kodwa manje sebesebenza ngaphakathi, sebexhuma iintambo zikagesi, sebexhuma ama-bathroom, ngaphandle konke sesiqedile ukwakha, sokusetshenzwa ngaphakathi. So sizamile ukusibuyisa isidima. Ngithe last time ngangikhuluma la ekomitini ngathi indlu eyi-1 lapha ikhosta 1.3 million. I-investment esiyenze lapha kulabantu 1.3 million, but lokho kuyabanceda futhi ekuthini mangabe umuntu ufuna ukuyotsheleka imali mhlambeni ebhankeni, mabebuza ukuthi unani, umisa ngani, akwazi ukuthi mina nginendlu ye-1.3 million enginayo esegameni lami eyakhiwe laphayana. Lokho-ke Mama Makhawula kungixabanise nabantu bala kwakhiwe khona lezi ndlu e-Oxford. Labantu base-Oxford mabebona lezi ndlu ezinkulu bo zingaboma-4, 5 bedroom, laba be-RDP beza begijima ukuthi angikhulisa ama-RDP house wabo. Abatholi kahle ukuthi why laba bethola izindlu ezingaka, kanti laba yizindlu ze-compensation ngoba baye basivulela umhlaba wokuthi sakhe i-Hazelmere Dam. Ngizocela-ke ukuthi ama-officials alekelele la ngingaqedanga khona. Ngiyabonga DG.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Mpungoshe. Just to add a couple of points, specifically with regard to the question as to whether I visit all the projects. I do visit some of our projects, but we have at any one time we have over 1,000 projects. If you count all of our projects funded by RBIG and funded by WISIG and our infrastructure branch, national water resource infrastructure projects to build new infrastructure or maintenance projects or refurbishment projects in our infrastructure. So with all my responsibilities, I can't visit all of the projects. But as indicated by Risimati, for the projects funded by us through RBIG and WISIG, our regional office officials do regularly visit the projects to ensure that what's reported to us by the municipality corresponds with what's on the ground. With regard to eThekwini in particular, I co-chair the presidential eThekwini working group together with the head of water and sanitation in eThekwini, Ethnic Mswedi, and our regional office provincial head, Angela Maysfield, also participates in those meetings. And she and her officials go and check on the ground what's happening in eThekwini. Even though we don't give eThekwini any money, as I indicated earlier, we're not allowed to give metropolitan municipalities money, so we don't have any funded projects in eThekwini. But nevertheless, she and her officials still go and visit areas of eThekwini. And when she participates in those meetings of the eThekwini presidential working group, if the eThekwini officials give an indication of a current situation which is not accurate according to what our regional office has found on the ground, Angela and her officials do challenge the eThekwini officials in the meeting and say that that's not accurate and that eThekwini needs to come back with more accurate information. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable Member, are you satisfied with the response you received?
Chair, there's a matter on tendering and insourcing that I think we must also respond to what Mama Makaula have asked. Ma kulokubuza ukuthi labona contract why lokho siqhubeka nokubathatha, why singalungisa umthetho ukuthi ungabavumeli ukuthi baphinde basebenze. Umthetho ma esinawo sonke njengaba ngeyishayamthetho uthi abantu mabenikezwe umsebenzi kumele ke ukuthi lo obanikeze umsebenzi abahlole. Ngivumelana nawe ukuthi ukuhlola lokhu yikho okungenzekiyo lapha kule level la sithumele khona imali. Funeka ukuthi sisizane nabomasipala nathi siyi-department mabesithumele imali kumasipala asingahlali silinde kuphela unyaka noma emibili. Akuthi mabesithumela imali siyobheka ukuthi le mali nisebenzisa kahle yini. Mangaba banenkinga noso contract bona laba abaye bakhetha uso contract abamkhiphe phela esayithini uma engenzi kahle. Kodwa uthi ke wena ma umsebenzi lo owenziwa amathenda bokumele ukuthi umsebenzi owenziwa abantu babe permanent kuma department. Lokho ke kuzofuneka ukuthi kuamendwe umthetho wokusebenza ngoba akusithi department yamanzi kuphela enalenkinga yokuthi singakwazi ukuthi wonke umsebenzi siwuthathele kithi ngoba thina sibhekane namanzi. Le department yokwakha amahlelo ngakube asingeke sibe nayo i-capacity eyanele yokuthi sikwazi kwenza lo msebenzi. I thought DG you will also respond on that issue of tendering or DM Mahlobo.
Maybe Minister, through your chair, Mama Kaula, umbono wakho njengoba uminister ewuchaza muhle kakhulu. Okubalekile ukuthi Chair, there are people behind speaking there. Chairperson.
I'm sorry, Chair. Chair, I'm very sorry. Chair, I'm very sorry. No,
Yes, ma'am.
Ntomboxolo Somdaka, Office of DM Siklulo, don't do that. This is a portfolio committee meeting. Can you respect the meeting and mute your microphone? I'm very sorry, Chair and honorable members. I'm very sorry.
Thank you very much.
Now, Chairperson, I was concluding to say the points about issues of employing people internally in the state. One of the priorities for this administration, Mama Kaula, is to build the state capacity so that we can be in a position to deal with a number of challenges. Ingakho nje sithe masilapha kwi-water indaba, umama uMajodina uMathole uMinister wezamanzi savumelana ukuthi uhlelo lokusetshenzwa kahulumeni ikakhulukazi umasipala lapho sibabiza kuthiwa ngama-Water Services Authority ukuthi banikezele iy'nkonzo kuluntu kuyofuneka siyibuke lento okuthiwa i-implementation or delivery model. Yilokho ukuthi-ke noma leyo delivery model sithi ngokwesikhashana kuyofuneka sibuke ukuthi singasebenza nabanye abantu abangaphandle noma osomabhizinisi. Kodwa kubalekile ukuthi ngokuhamba kwesikhathi uhulumeni kufuneka lenze uhlelo lokuthi kwakhiwe amakhono ngaphakathi kuhulumeni. Ingakho nje nomphathiswa wezamanzi uMama Majodina usebenza kakhulu nethimba lakhe leli esilibiza kuthiwa i-Water Research Commission. Abonjiniyela abaningi noma ososcience abaningi bayaqeqeshwa lapha, abanye bafundela ukuba odokotela, abanye benza masters kwe-science ngokweziqu zabo. Uphinde umama uMajodina lapha abe nolunye uhlelo okuthiwa yini i-Learning Academy. I-Learning Academy unikezela imfundazwe kubantu abaningi abenza izifundo eziqondene nokuthi abantu bakwazi ukubamba iqhaza la emsebenzini wezamanzi, ikakhulukazi ama-hydrologist, ama-scientists nama-engineers. Bagcwele kuwo wonke ama-university aseNingizimu Afrika. Bathi mebebuya banikezwe uhlelo lokufundela umsebenzi ngaphakathi, ikakhulukazi uhlelo lolu esilubiza ukuthi ngama-internship. Njengoba ikomidi lethu lesishayamthetho lezamanzi beliseLusuthu, sike saripota lapha ebuza amanye amalunga ukuthi-ke senze njani ukuthi-ke sikwazi ukuqeqesha abantu basebenze. Nakhona eLusuthu sishilo ukuthi-ke kunamathuba amaningi lama-graduate beqashwa khona ukuze kunikezwe lezo zinto lezo. Sabuya ngosakhala ukuthi abantu baseNingizimu Afrika bambalwa abasebenza lapha ngaphakathi eLusuthu. Kufuneka sibuke indlela ukuthi-ke sandisa kanjani amanani nendlela abaphila ngayo ngoba kunzimanyana ukusebenza lapha ey'ntabeni zaseLusuthu. Eyokugcina le yama-bucket system, indaba yama-bucket system izohlala ikhona ngoba kune-problem eSouth Africa yokuthi-ke kuke kwaba nezindlu nje ezakhiwa uhulumeni, zakhelwa abantu abantulayo. Uthola ukuthi lezo zindlu mazakhiwa omasipala abenzi inqalasizinda, lokho esikubiza ukuthi bulk infrastructure. Kodwa ama-toilet afakiwe emzini wabantu, ikakhulukazi lapha e-Free State, ukubonile nalapha kule province yase-Northern Cape. And inangane i-report lenikezwa namuhla i-quarterly report iyakhombisa ukuthi mningi umsebenzi owenziwe, kodwa uthathe isikhathi ngoba bekufuna kwakhiwe inqalasizinda. Kodwa abantu baseNingizimu Afrika kunamalokishi amaningi lapho beqhubeka khona benikezela izindlu zangasese, ikakhulukazi amabhakede noma lapha koMangaung, uyana se-Cape Town lapha kwamanye amalokishi. Uminister-ke usenze uhlelo olusha lepolisi afune iphaswe icabinet esithi ama-norms and standards ngendaba ye-sanitation. Kunezinto nje uminister afuna ukuthi-ke zichithwe zingabi khona, lento esibiza ukuthi ngamabhakede nalento kuthiwa ngama-pit latrines. Kodwa uminister ufuna ukwakha ukuthi kube nohlelo lokugqugquzela ukuthi-ke indawo ezingenawo amanzi, ikakhulukazi eziswela amanzi, kusetshenziswa ubuchwepheshe obukhona bezindlu zangasese, ikakhulukazi ubuchwepheshe obenziwa i-Water Research Commission, bakwazi ukunceda leyo mphakathi, ikakhulukazi lokho esikubiza ukuthi-ke other forms of sanitation or non-sewer technologies around issues of sanitation. Kodwa abahlali namakhosi nabo bonke abantu kufuneka babambisane bayiyeke lento yokuthi abantu bahlale noma ngaye kuphi baxhome imizi yabo, ngoba uma benza imizi endaweni engahlelekile kahle, inqalasizinda efana nezinto zamanzi nokuthuthwa kwendle, lezo zinto lezo angeke ukwazi ukuthi-ke uyihlinzeke ukuthi siye phambili. Yileyo ndlela-ke engicabanga ukuthi-ke singaphendula ngayo. Ubuchwepheshe boku-check ukuthi amanzi ayavuza ngoba uminister athi busemgwaqweni, ikakhulukazi lento esibiza ukuthi i-leak detection, ikhona lapha nje eThekwini la ubuya khona. Ibhodi lethu lasemngeni uthukela lubeke imali engaphezulu kweyigidi ezingama-30. Uminister wathi makabalekelele bawathole la mapayipi ukuthi akuphi, ukuze bawabone ukuthi maye kuphi, bawakwazi ukuwafaka kuma-map, kube nalento okuthiwa i-asset map register kulabo masipala la, ukuze bakwazi ukulungisa lezi zinto zama-leak detection. Nomasipala la eGoli kuphi ngoba sazi nje ukuthi amanzi ayaxhaxha kuzo zonke iy'ndawo, kodwa-ke kufuneka bebe nemali ukudila nendaba zama-leaks, ngoba phela indaba yama-leaks kufuneka ukwazi ukulungisa inqalasizinda. Uma isilungele inqalasizinda ube nabantu-ke abohlala beyibona ngaso sonke isikhathi lolo hlelo selibuza ukuthi-ke i-operation and maintenance. Bonga kakhulu, Chairperson, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mapula,
Yes, ngibonge Chair.
please, are you satisfied?
Ngiyamuzwa umhlonisha uMahlobo. Uyabona nje Mayville eThekwini akuyona umjondolo, but kunama-bucket system akhiwe ngaphandle kwabakhela. Ngibuyele kulena oyishoyo yomngeni. Umngeni kuyimanje siney'nkinga zey'kole osakhala ngokuthi iy'kole aziwathola amanzi ngenxa yokuthi awukhokhele. Kuzokwenzeka kanjani? Sengigcina ngci. Le nto yokuxhaphaza kwamanzi ngeke ize iyeke mangabe kusekhona labantu bamathenda labantu bamavate babizwa ngamadela ngokubona ngoba lamadela ngokubona aqala eThekwini kodwa manje asesabalele i-9 province yonke. Yingakho mina ngithi why ugovernment engenzi lento le yokuthi lento amathenda akayibuyisele eceleni especially kulezi zinto ezinzima ezithinta impilo zabantu amanzi. Akayibambele yena ngoba ngeke solosakhala sileli komiti senza into eyodwa ngoba nizofika manje afaka amapayipi amadela ngokubona noma lama mafia bakhipha abantu babo bayonqamula leya nto and basika ebuhlungu babulala ngisho laba abasuke bethi bazokanda bayabadubula. Ezinye izinto lezo kufanele sibukeke kuzona masikhuluma ukuze kukwazi no la kwasasenza imistake la sasithi sicabanga ukwenza ukuthi but ngo-1 no-2 no-3 we must suspend lento siyisuse siyilungise. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I've got 2 members left, Honorable Ramahila and then Honorable Moore. Honorable Ramahila, you can continue.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings to my colleagues, the Minister and the 2 Deputy Ministers, the DG and other officials on the platform. Let me first, Chair, appreciate the 99% expenditure achieved by the department. We'll just await the opinion of the AGSA in as far as whether this expenditure was done in line with the general recognized accounting practice. We'll wait for AG's opinion, but let's appreciate the achievement this far. Chair, my question here is in terms of the ministerial support program focusing on the 105 dismally performing WSAs. The question is whether is there a rollout plan with clear concrete timelines, and if it is there, my request is that it be submitted to the chair within 7 days, and if it's not there, it be developed and submitted to the chair within 30 days. Now, my next question is with regard to post the establishment of the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency. And my question will then, in this regard, relate to the existence of the water boards that post the establishment of the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency. Will there still be a need for the existence of water boards? Because the infrastructure would have been transferred to the new agency. Similarly, TCTA would have been disestablished. The trading entity will have been amalgamated in the new agency. And in the description of the department, part of the infrastructure branch of the department would also be transferred to the new agency. And my understanding is that water boards are used as kind of utilities for the department, basically operating in terms of raw water abstraction, piping it maybe up to the point of water treatment works for the municipalities. Now, I would want to really understand, is there a future role of water boards? Or is there going to be some sort of recalibration of the water boards to repurpose it for something else if the department will still need their existence? Or whether should they be put to sleep? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The last question that the Honourable Member has asked was the 500th question that this committee has asked in our term. I think it is also a milestone for us, and I must say that all of these questions asked have been answered. But over to you, Minister. Minister, you are muted.
Okay, no, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, not a single day that I'm not signing the responses to your questions. This is the most active committee, and thank you very much, Chair. Chair, on the issue, if I may just quickly say to Mama Kaula, the water Indaba has also advised municipalities to insource this thing of water tankers. Lama water tanker lama tangu amanzi sithe abo masipala abaqale babe nawabo kwenzela ukuthi bakwazi ukungenelela mangaba kunenkinga bangaxhomekeki kuwo throughout, because kuduru ulanda amanzi ngama-truck. Abomasipala lo waseThekwini useqalile ukuba nama-water tanker wakhe, so sithi awabe khona for emergency. On the issue that has been on the questions that have been asked by Honorable Ramaile, thank you very much for that. Will there be a need for water ports? Yes. Water ports will still exist. CMAs are going to still exist because the mandate is different altogether to the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency. The Infrastructure Agency will work the similar way in which you see SANRAL working. So that is it. It has a different mandate altogether, but we can give a full account as to say what are the objectives of the WRIA, what are the mandates of the water ports, what are the mandates of the CMAs. We can submit that information. The ministerial intervention program of the 105 are there concrete time-bound rollout plan? Not as yet. The reason being that the water task team led by the Deputy President, which is convening water, energy, human settlement, national treasury, and COCTA, we have agreed that our admin team must put up the intervention plan that will pull resources from all these departments that I've just alluded to, because the cabinet said one department might not make any dent. If we intervene alone as water, we might not see the impact. Let the departments, the 5 departments, come together and say, what is that you have, so that we join our resources. If we go to Machabeng, we're in and out. So our technical officials, led by our DGs, they are putting together the intervention plan that will go to the top 20 municipalities, because we will not be able to go to all 105 at a go. However, we are also going to ensure that, where I said earlier on, we're going to complete the incomplete projects that will on its own will go its own way. But where the intervention, where there is no access of at all, where there is a collapse of water infrastructure, we are going as the water task team led by the deputy president, but we go as different departments. Can I then hand over to TG?
Thank you very much, Minister. Just to add on the water boards, the water boards are given a mandate through the Water Services Act to assist municipalities with bulk water services infrastructure. Municipalities don't have to use water boards; it's optional, but they provide a service to municipalities, and the type of infrastructure that the water boards are operating is municipal infrastructure in terms of the Constitution. So Rand Water, for example, provides bulk water services infrastructure to the municipalities in Gauteng, But in terms of the Constitution, Rand Water's infrastructure is also part of the responsibility of municipalities. But Rand Water is providing that to municipalities as a service to create economies of scale for the municipalities, because it would be too expensive for all the municipalities to develop their own bulk water services infrastructure. The National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency, on the other hand, its mandate is only to focus on national water resource infrastructure, which is the large dams which DWS currently owns and which will be transferred to the NWRA. And it will have no role whatsoever in providing a service to municipalities like the water boards are providing. So water boards like Rand Water and the others must continue the establishment of the NWRA doesn't have any impact on the need for a water board such as Rand Water to continue. I'd like to just ask Marty to add on to what the Minister said about what plans we've got so far for the 105 municipalities. Marty?
Thanks, DG. Briefly, as Minister has indicated, we do have the overall report on the findings on these 105 WSAs that are dismally performing, and we use a lot of indicators such as issues of debt, non-revenue water, challenges, the capacity issues in these municipalities. We use also our drop reports to paint a picture of how these municipalities are dismally performing, and we have aligned that report, Chair, with the report that was done by COCTA on the 67 municipalities that are poor performing. As the Minister has indicated, the report is there. There's a task that has been given to ourselves by the Inter-Ministerial Committee to integrate these reports into one and come up with a rollout plan, as the Minister has indicated. And I think it's fair on the Minister's submission that until such action plans have been developed and the Inter-Ministerial Committee is happy with the outline of what should be done by when, it should then be ready for submission. So we are currently working on the integration to ensure that we do not duplicate the efforts that are put through by COCTA and ourselves. Hence, we are currently busy with finalizing that alignment. And I think in due course, we should be able to submit through the directive or support by the Minister a more comprehensive action plan with clear timelines, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ramahila, are you satisfied?
Partly, Chair, but I would then recommend that in as far as the role of water boards is concerned, maybe a detailed report for assimilation by some of us who are still not convinced be sent so that we go through it, because in my understanding, the amendments in as far as Water Services Act are concerned are there to encourage WSA to take the utility model. Now, the utility model might also include water boards. But if you go to the origin of the water boards, they originate through the Water Act, not really through the Water Services Act. The Water Services Act allows for the appointment of water service providers, and that might be the board. But the origin, in my view, it comes from the Water Act, not the Water Services Act, because the Water Services Act is up to water service authorities to decide which way to go. But maybe a detailed explanation would do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We will ask the department on a later stage to unpack the working and how it will fit. The puzzle will be built around this agency. Thank you for that. Honorable Moore, last but not the least, it's your time now to ask the questions. I thought you would get the 500th question, but unfortunately, the beginning, the members asked 4 questions. You're more than welcome to continue.
Thank you, Chairperson. And just with regards to my connection, if the video is causing a problem for the communication, please let me know and I'll turn it off. And I'm also cognizant of time. Despite that, I think I'm only happy that the Honourable Ramahila gets the 500th question. It's great our committee is pushing so hard. Very briefly, thank you to the minister, both DMs, as well as the DG and his team for all of the answers. I think a lot of the smaller questions I had have been answered by them. So, Chair, I just want to keep myself, as I say, cognizant of time towards two specific things. And I'm going to read from my notes quite a bit when I do them, just because I want to get a little technical, but I'll try and be swift as I do so. Minister, I wanted to ask whether yourself and the GG would be open towards relooking at how these quarterly reports are done. In preparation for this meeting, went through obviously this quarterly report, which covers the entire year. I also looked at the same report for the 2023-2024 financial year, as well as the previous quarters. We had a joint report on the second and third quarters. And whilst the general structure is similar, the actual content can vary based on item, based on how the reporting happens on an item, and specifically because we only draw out particular information. And I understand the need for that because, as has been discussed, we have a huge number of projects that we oversee. But the challenge is that sometimes information doesn't follow through from report to report, and that can make it very challenging to actually perform the oversight function that we have. An example of this is we were actually encouraged during the presentation to look at 3.5.1 that was highlighted in this report and to look at it in the previous report. The challenge we have is that it wasn't in the previous report, or at least not in any of the three versions that I looked at. Maybe it's in a different version. And I suppose that should highlight the challenge that we had actually with the previous reports, where the presentation was done on the second and third quarter reports. We had a presentation done on a report, but it wasn't the right report. And then we had to have another report. So there are some challenges to the way we're having these reports done. I'll give you another example, just because I do feel this is important, is to say that on the performance indicator 1.4.3, the number of debtor days, the department went from 163 days at the end of the third quarter to 489 days at the end of the fourth quarter. So there are only 90 days in a quarter. And one would assume that that means the indicator can jump from 163 days plus 90 to 256 days. But suddenly we're on 489 days. And it's a small example, but at least I was able to check this because the indicator appeared in both reports. We don't always get the indicators in both reports. So I would love to see a discussion whether it's possible on how we can improve it so we can actually track things holistically across the quarters, as is the primary purpose of this role. And one of the key reasons this portfolio committee exists at all, Chairperson. But within that, let me ask two specific questions then to say, please, can I ask that the committee receive a report with the status of every single sub-program as well as their performance so that we can track it against previous reports? And then also, can we get a report on every grant-funded project by the department, particularly as expanded information on slide 34 is grant-funded projects per province? We get thrown numbers, but numbers don't mean anything. I don't know which project falls where. I don't know whether a project was completed in the previous quarter but has now been moved back to being worked on. I'm sure that isn't the case, but I have no idea. And in terms of my oversight, if I don't get these answers, then I need to ask tens, if not hundreds, of questions to the department via Parliament. And that is not an effective use of our time, Chair, and it lessens our ability to do this. So that's my key thing, and I ask again, and this is out of constructive request to the Minister, if there's an opportunity for us to try and engage on how we can improve this so we can better do our job to do this oversight. And then, Chair, just the only other thing I'd like to highlight, and it's been well covered today, but I want to talk about the bucket eradication program, and I want to talk about it as someone who looks at these reports. As someone who looks at the reports, I see a target for bucket eradication of 10,798. This target is the exact same target from the 2023 to 2024 financial year, and it's exact same number that exists in this financial year. So as someone who would look at this report, they'd say, we have not fixed a single bucket toilet. We can talk about it increasing and decreasing, but if it increased or decreased, there'd be either a number against that we fixed, or there would be a separate number that target would change. And again, I understand everything that's been said. I'm saying how someone reads the report. Then I can go into the financials, because this is the really concerning part. I'm going to read a bunch because it's important that I get the specific numbers. In the 2023-24 financial year, we spent 121 million rand as part of the regional bulk infrastructure grant to eradicate North toilets. We spent almost 29 million rand as part of the water services infrastructure grant in the same year to eradicate North toilets. Now, when I look at this current financial deal, the one we've just finished now, in the 2024-25 financial year, we spent 89 million rand as part of the regional bulk infrastructure grant to eliminate North toilets. And we spent a further 31 million rand as part of the water services infrastructure grant to eliminate North toilets. Chairperson, you can understand the concern of someone who reads this report, who goes, we have spent 270 million rand, ostensibly as per the report, to fix North toilets. There needs to be some understanding of what's happening here in a simple manner that we can package and share out into the community. And to be blunt, if there's continued to be problems, there needs to be consequence management, because in the financial year 2016-2017, the department exceeded the budget vote allocated by 110 million due to overspending on the bucket eradication program. And it's in our fruitless and wasteful expenditure. If someone just looks at it and says we spent 270 million rand to fix North toilets, some would say that's the very definition of fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Minister.
Chair, can I come first?
You're welcome.
No, thank you very much. I think, Honorable Mom, we do welcome suggestions on how certain of our reports must look like user-friendly. And the issues around, there are also compliance matters that normally our teams, they deal with. And in the main, these compliance matters, you get to be given by Treasury, because there are Treasury guidelines on how strat plans must look like, business plans, which are the APP, including the reporting. But the issues around bucket eradication, Honorable Mong, probably at a particular point, like some of your colleagues were saying before, you might want to find space and time to go and check the work we've made. It has not been an easy thing, Honorable Person. You'll recall, one of the biggest problems you had, local government or the ministries of human settlement for many, many years, they have continued to build houses without bulk infrastructure. When we know exactly that in terms of the Human Settlement Development Grant or the Urban Settlement Development Grant, there must always be a provision of 1/3, which is 33%, just for bulk water and sanitation. That's why when Minister Majodini, she concludes her water indaba with our country, she was saying that traditional funding must be disclosed, Chair. Like meat, you must have 50% for water and sanitation. For the Urban Settlement Development Grant, whether it's a Human Settlement Development Grant and the others, they have a component. You know, when our teams, they went there, firstly, we went as a national intervention. It was not our responsibility to actually get rid of the buckets. And we thought, I know, for an example, Mpumalanga had many provinces had some of these buckets in many, many areas. The project started. When the project started, in the main, citizens wanted sewer kind of sanitation facilities. When you are going to have a sewer sanitation facility, one, you must have a wastewater treatment plant. That's number one. Because you can connect those toilets in those people's homes, because it's formal settlement. We must use the word formal settlement. Our teams had to build the bulk infrastructure from scratch in the main. When they had to build the infrastructure in the main, we had actually to fix the car while we are driving the car. In other words, there were design issues. And you go in the ground, you find that in terms of geological formation of the rocks, they are rock formations. When there are rock formations, the costs are going to escalate. Then there are issues where the water will come from. Probably at a particular point, Chair, like Minister asked me in terms of her assignments to us as DMs, I'm prepared that we can come with a full report on these ones. Why there are these particular variations? It has not been easy, let alone the institutional arrangement where this matter is moved from one organization to the other. It comes back, there are transitional issues. But I'm very confident now that Dr. Rismat and his team, they are actually arresting those. The numbers that you see as the final numbers, Honorable Moore, they will never change the target. The target will never change because we've done a bin counting to say these are the households that are affected. Those households that are there, you can see that you think it's about, but these are the households, and there's a lot of work that has happened. But there's been cost escalations, let alone the issues around designs that to be fixed, that made problems. But there are input costs like cement, the steel that is happening, you will know in the construction space. But the DG and the team, through the leadership of the minister, will come on that one. The last point I thought I would speak to, Honorable Chair, let's find time, like we have said, that the issue around institutional reform in the department, whether the CMAs, the creation of the agencies that are there, Minister and DG, Comrade Ramaile, they are absolutely correct. All these agencies, they are a creature of a statute by law. The one that are responsible for water resource management. Water resource management is a national infrastructure that will deal with the issues of the building of the dams and the others that are there and the biggest canals. Those are your national water resource infrastructure assets. Those assets are currently the assets with the custodianship of the minister. Those are the state assets. They have nothing to do with the issues of the bulk infrastructure for treatment of water. That bulk infrastructure is also a creature of a statute. The water boards are in the statute, which is the Water Services Act. The other one is with its own statute right now, but it has nothing to do with the national water resources. And even in the amendment that we'll discuss later on in the year under the guidance of the committee, where we'll come in, you start your own processes. There is no any indication that there's an amendment on this institutional arrangement of water boards. But you are absolutely correct around the question of utilities. The question of utilities is more to do with the implementation model. Remember some of these water boards, when we'll find time to discuss, some of the water boards are older than these municipalities. Some of the water boards are actually older than the Union of South Africa. If you make the example of Rand Water, which is 121 years or 122 years right now, you look at Mid-Valley, they were there before. They were always coming in handy as institutions of the minister that can be able still to be able to sell the water. The issue of utilities, Comrade Stan, please note that is more on the provisioning function. Remember, the water board still has to treat the bulk water. That's why every time minister at a particular point around water users, they do these issues. But we are prepared, Chair, when minister has concluded her issues through cabinet with the issues of the roadmap of the infrastructure agency that were proceeding, we'll share the roadmap and other issues. We'll also share how these institutions, Chair, are going to relate to each other. We'll also share how are we going to ensure that there's oversight, but also there's a proper mechanism for mandating and accountability. Those are some of the issues that I thought let me come through because as Honorable Comrade Ramaila came afterwards, is a matter that I thought we should clarify. But maybe the issues around the numbers and so forth, the Minister will allow the DG and the team just to clarify. But broadly, that's the context why there is always scope creeping, change of scope on the basis of planning and the context in which each project has been done. But buckets, these are the last one Minister is doing, this formalized one in the 2 provinces. As was saying, there's a national norms and standard on how sanitation going forward as a responsibility of municipalities. We want it to be coordinated, funded, and looking at options around delivery models and technologies that must be used. Thank you.
DG?
Thank you very much, DM. Thank you, Chair. Just to add on the issue of the buckets, Rizimati earlier in his input indicated that when this program was transferred to DWS, we discovered that it hadn't been well planned. It's not just a matter of replacing buckets, toilets with flush toilets. The sewage has to flush to somewhere. So if previously there weren't any sewer lines, there weren't any sewage pumping stations, there were either no wastewater treatment works or wastewater treatment works without sufficient capacity to deal with the additional sewage load, all of that infrastructure had to be built in these areas. And this infrastructure is extremely expensive. For example, in our intervention in Mfuleni, we're spending 7 billion rand just upgrading the capacity of 4 wastewater treatment works. So it is entirely understandable that we would spend hundreds of millions of rands over several years period just building this necessary bulk infrastructure to enable the sewage, which is going to flush from the flush toilets, to go to a wastewater treatment works rather than just to go into the environment. Now the other part of the picture is that this the way we do these reports and the way we write our APPs is very highly regulated. It used to be by National Treasury, as indicated by DM Makgobo, but they've now transferred that function to the Department of Performance Monitoring and Evaluation. And every year, the DPME issues us with new, very detailed requirements on how we write the APPs and how we report against them. It's extremely detailed. They even prescribe to us how we define the indicators and how the indicators must be formulated. And if we don't stick to those guidelines to the letter, then we get audit queries. So for this example, if we have an indicator of number of buckets eradicated, we're not allowed to report progress in building sewage pipelines and upgrading wastewater treatment works as outputs against that expenditure. We have to only report on the number of buckets eradicated or we get an audit query. So we have to report if during that period the expenditure was just on the bulk infrastructure, on the wastewater treatment works and the sewage pipelines, all that infrastructure, and there weren't yet any properly flushing toilets. All we can say is naught, as Honourable Moore said. We can't put in there that no, the money was spent on all this bulk infrastructure. It's not allowed in terms of the requirements for APP reporting. But having said all of that, Honourable Moore, we do hear what you're saying, and we will endeavour. I will work with Babawa to try and ensure that there's as much continuity as possible within the constraints put on us by this heavily regulated performance reporting environment, to try and make sure that there's as much continuity between the reports as possible, so that they are more useful to you as members of Parliament to check our performance. I'd like to ask Babawa to just address a couple of the other specific issues which Honourable Moore raised. Babawa?
Yes, thank you, DG, and thank you, DM. Just to clarify on the maintenance one, if Honourable Moore has got a copy of the presentation that we submitted to Parliament on the 20th of August in 2024, slide 21, there is a report there that actually indicates that our scheduled maintenance was at 39% at the same period in the previous financial year. And so that is one of the consistent issues, and also the one below on the dam safety. So it is a common denominating factor on that one. And then you can actually compare across these ones as well. And also, just to augment what the DG indicated, in terms of the report, the detailed report, there is also a detailed report that lists all the projects, all the numbers that are in the summary presentation. It takes from all the over 1,000 projects that the DG, each and every single one of them. So that is also available. That is usually shared with the Auditor General to confirm on the accuracy of the numbers that we submit to the Portfolio Committee, and also our internal audit reviews that. But for ease of maybe transparent communication, we can share that detailed report after the internal audit and the Auditor General has confirmed the accuracy of the numbers that are in the document. Thank you, DG.
Well, there was also a question from Honourable Moore about some of the financial reporting, and I don't know if you heard that or if you're able to answer it, or if we should ask Frans to answer it. Frans, did you pick up that one? Can you answer that one? Frans?
Yes. It's regarding the debtor days.
Yes.
Number of debtor days, Frans?
Yes, that's correct, DG. I had the question that in Q3, in Q4 it increased. The final cumulative figure that we report also takes into consideration the final impairment calculation that we are including in the debtors books. So that has an impact, but we'll be able to share with the honorable member the calculations that we are making for impairment. But the main reason is that there are also adjustments, there are write-offs. There's also provision for impairment at the end of the year, but we'll be able to provide further explanation if required. Thank you.
Are you finished, DG?
I think Rizimati might want to add a bit on the buckets. Rizimati?
Thank you, DG. I think you've covered all, but maybe the point to add to Honorable Moore is that when the whole BEP was inserted into the department, initially it was looked at through human settlement that they need to replace buckets with VIP toilets, which was rejected by the community, by the way, resulting in therefore requesting the full waterborne sanitation. And that's how this whole redesign, remodeling that the Mahlobo and Minister spoke about was basically integrated. We therefore want to submit, Chair, that a lot of feasibility studies were not done in that time. And therefore, when the community requested the full waterborne sanitation, it meant that back then, the department had to redo the designs, construction, and already people were expecting to flush the toilets in their household. So we therefore want to make a submission to Honorable Moore that you shouldn't look at the 270 million or the expenditure thereof as if nothing is happening on the ground. As Osbabala has indicated, the detailed report on all the projects that are being done, the infrastructure that is on the ground with visuals will be submitted. And I think that will clearly answer the question that money spent is not necessarily mean that there were no infrastructure on the ground. As DJs indicated, you will still see a zero toilets on the system, on the presentation, but on the ground, the infrastructure, sub-outfall sewers, the oxidation ponds, the upgrading of some of the pump stations, outfall sewers, wastewater treatment works are attached to everything that links to those toilets. And I think the detailed report will be able to answer that. Thank you, DJ.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think in future, DG, maybe we should have just a footnote to say that this money has been spent on infrastructure, so that anybody that then don't pick that up, then there is a footnote that could give that. Would that be possible?
Yes, Chair. We have started to do that in some areas, but I think we need to be more aware of these kind of things where people might raise questions because of the nature of the reporting system, and add additional footnotes. We'll try and do that. It's a good suggestion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable Moore,
Chairperson, you are correct. What we'll do, some of this will put some footnotes as explanatory notes. Yeah?
Yeah.
In as much as we are being logged with the framework that they give us to report, but let's put some explanatory notes so that there's an ease of reference. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Minister, Honourable Moore, are you satisfied?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to say thank you to the DM for the extensive response. As always, I appreciate the technique while you answer our questions, and to the DG and his team. I think it's a perfect example, and I really appreciate your suggestion, Chair, with regards to providing a footnote, because the reality is we aren't the only people who look at this. And whilst I am one of the people, and thus I can say in terms of item 3.5.1, it's all good and well that it was in the annual report from the previous financial year, but it wasn't in the previous quarterly report. And that's why, DG, I really appreciate your response around trying to ensure continuity. It will just make our lives easier. I'm also excited to hear about this giant report with all of the projects. I understand not everyone is going to want to get their teeth into that, but I certainly would if it can become available, because otherwise the reality is it's going to require, as I said, dozens of questions, which isn't intending to frustrate anyone. It's the way we have to try and find to access information. And just to say on the bucket toilet, Chair, I've been there in many, many meetings. And my worry is this comes to Parliament and someone who hasn't been in our meetings sees that number and they go, what? How can this happen? So we've had the explanations, and we've got detailed explanations, committee meeting after committee meeting. I'm really looking forward to the presentation. But I think we just have to be cognizant that we are not the only people who read these reports. And in most cases, the people who read these reports are not going to watch the committee briefings on it. And that's why I'm really excited to hear about the DG saying that they're working to include additional comments where possible. That's very exciting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, honourable members. We are half an hour over our time, and we will not deal with the minutes today. We will refer that to the next meeting. I still see Honourable Makola's hand is up. Is it an old hand, Honourable Member?
No, thank you, Chair. It's not all hands. But bengithi ngiyayicelela la ku minister no DJ not bazoneza ama-answer ukuthi ake beyilandelele nto makwakhiwa izindlu, they must make sure ukuthi iyafakwa isuwa pipe ikwaziwe njengokuthi 101 nje ngaya manje kuyanuka. And all province of KZN, especially la khona abantu, awulandele umgodi makuzohakhiwa izindlu, even lezi zinto zamanzi ngiyacela ukuthi kube umphako lo ukuthi bahambe bayibona. Ngacela la ngathi cela ke senze i-oversight, then nithi masibuya kwi-oversight so bese sikhuluma ilanguage eyi-1, ngoba ezinye zey'nkinga lezi sikhuluma lana thina kwi-portfolio committee singahambanga sayobona lezi zinto esisuke sikomplena ngazo eyi-affect abantu bethu. Izindlu ezikhona zakhiwa zawuthi ukuthi kube khona ama-toilet ashawayo, zawuthi kube khona amanzi, vele kube kwindlu nje, kodwa futhi le nto mayibheka yenzela kuhlango olulodwa lumnyama. Angisho ukuthi ngi-racist, but le nto iyafuna ukubhekwa. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Minister, would you like to conclude this meeting?
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Let me pendule umama uMakaula. Mama Kaula uqinisile ukuthi makuthiwa yi-human settlement kwaye kukwakhiwa ukuthi kwakhiwa izindlu nje, kuthiwa kwakhiwa ukuhlalisana kwabantu. Makwakhiwa izindlu kufanele ukuthi zifakwe amanzi, zifakwe okwangasese. Kodwa-ke lokho akuyona mandate yale komiti kuyo. Le komiti ibhekane nezamanzi nenhlanzeko yelindle. Le yezindlu ikomiti yiyo emele ukuthi ilandele ibudget ye-human settlement ukuthi ibudget ye-human settlement mabeyakha izindlu benza lokho kufanele unless wena ma ungacela u-chairperson Honorable Basoni that you might have a joint meeting with the Human Settlement Portfolio Committee, with COCTA Portfolio Committee, because for us to want to instruct Human Settlement on what to put or what not to put when they are building houses, it is not our mandate. Will be overreaching to that department. But the portfolio committee, through the working together with other portfolio committees, you may do that. Unfortunately, we cannot oversight another department. To you, Chair, and all honorable members, we really appreciate all your inputs. And as you have alluded that in some instances, we must give more information. If we are to make footnotes, let's do that. If we are to give more information, especially on the bucket eradication program, on the issue of the list of projects that have been finalized, where are those projects, a clear spreadsheet of those projects. As we said, we have spent money, the projects are done and dusted. You need more information. We really appreciate the counseling on various matters. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Minister, Deputy Ministers, DG, and the personnel. Thank you for a very constructive meeting. I know it's very long. It took longer than normal, but I think it was necessary for us to have this meeting. And I know people's got to get online again for Parliament or go to the House. Thank you very much. We will deal with the minutes next week. I now adjourn this meeting. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, Chair. Goodbye.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.